let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And then come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to bEast from the East, Week 4 edition. It's your boy, Mr. NETSN, Brett Woody, joined by our normal cast of characters. Tonight, we've got Jaron Peoples, we've got the upside down CM Corey Marshall, and KO Kyle Owens. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Corey, you really are. We can't make these things up. Corey, we were chatting before the show, and you were right side up, and I was like, man, Corey, this week he was second overall in the pick'em. Things are looking up for him, and then he flips the script and goes upside down when we start the show. I don't know, Corey. Maybe this might not be a good week for you. It's not a good start.
I don't know. I haven't touched anything. I literally haven't touched anything.
It's like once we go live, it flips him for some reason. Like, yeah, I don't know.
It immediately does that.
I don't know. Maybe I need to get that computer back to you, Corey. Maybe that'll help you a little bit. I'm not using your computer, so should be good. Jaron, you should be able to
come back.
Jaron, you should be able to talk.
Now. You unmuted me. Yeah.
Well, there was some background noise earlier that it was in the we could hear, so I did mute you a second. So Corey's going to jump off and see if he can fix it again. Man, how you guys doing? Kyle, I feel like I hadn't talked to you in a while. You went MIA on us traveling to some Dallas place last week. Weren't able to join us. Luckily, your media compadre B.O., Brandon Owens, or Ogden, whichever one you want to call him. You know, we got a nickname for him now. I think they're brothers, lost brothers. But yeah, Brandon Ogden's joined us from the paper. Filled in for you a little bit last week. But how was your last couple of weeks, Kyle?
Oh, man. Had a barn burner Friday in Timpson. That was a fun one to watch. Let me just say, get this out of the way. Westwood, they don't like the Palestine addition to them. Westwood, they're real. They're a for real team. They got some studs over there. So, but it's been a good past couple of weeks, you know. Didn't have to worry about any football today because my Eagles play tomorrow or on Monday. So, didn't have to worry about no football on Sunday. And
I didn't worry about I didn't worry about any football today either, Kyle.
Well, your team didn't show up today, so I love how they were promoting going into the game. Oh, the Cowboys have won 16 straight home games. I'm like, didn't they lose last year in the playoffs at home? And
that's never good.
Today.
That's never good when they do that. That's never good.
Boy, when you came on, it was fine. It was perfect when you came on, and then like 2 seconds in,
I don't even know how he flips it. I don't know how to do that. I mean, that takes talent to be able to flip that camera. I don't know what it is. But Corey, you were looking at last week's Pick'em contest. It was a rough week for me. I went 6-4. I think everybody had a rough week overall, though. But shout out to Russ Miller, 9 out of 10 last week. I mean, that's props after an interesting week of Pick'ems. At least I thought so. Corey, you were right there. You and Brandon with 8 correct. Great job.
I don't think you can hear us, Brett.
He must not be able to.
No, that's what he said in the chat. He can't hear us.
Okay, well we'll get his thoughts when he can hear us here in a minute. But how'd you guys do? Jaron, how'd you do?
No bueno. It was bad.
Oh man, bad. You bounced back to reality, Jaron. You thought you had it going last week.
Yeah. The problem is I voted with my heart on some picks and not my head. I voted with my heart and it got me.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That's my issue is I hold grudges against certain teams for personal reasons and I don't pick them, and that's what's come back to bite me.
So you didn't vote. You didn't pick Alba Golden, I bet, this week. You probably lost that one, didn't you?
I'm not saying a word about anybody. You will not catch me. Listen, they called me last week during a Red Zone halftime show. And I'm sitting in the Timpson press box. There's Timpson people all around me. And it's like 35-21 at this point. Westwood's up at halftime. And they call, and the girl on the phone, she goes, "So, Kyle, you know, it's 35-21. Who do you think's going to win this game?" And I paused for a second. I looked around. I said, "Yeah, I'm not answering that question up here. I'm in a room full of Timpson people. Not answering that." So same thing here. I'm not answering that question. No comment.
Well, let's see. Who else we recognize up here? Let's see. Like I said, Brendan and Corey had 8. See if anybody else of our crew is up here. Conrad, our KMU play-by-play guy that we do things with all the time. He had 7. Jeremy Diamond, a mutual friend of me and Jaron, he had 7. So a few people had up there in the top. I had 6. It was a rough week for me. I almost lost another one, the game that I was at that we'll get to here shortly. We had a couple. Well, let's see. Let's see if we have Corey here. Now he's right side up. Corey, can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Finally.
Oh, hey. Wait a second. I know I have something for you, Corey. You gotta have something. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Yeah, Corey's here. All right. Standing ovation. Okay. Corey, tell us. We were just talking good about you a minute ago. You were up there with you and Brandon had 8. Tell us how you did it this week in this wacky week of Pick'ems.
So in other words, you guys talk bad about me. You talk good about me.
No, we talked good about you. You had a good week. You were the top picker on the show.
No.
So go ahead.
I was 8-2. I was 8-2. Man, just ride the wave. I'm trying to go 10-0 this week. So okay. I don't know much about the smaller teams, but we'll try to go 10-0 this week. There's some good games that happened this week. I really
tried to pick some games that were like really good, like good teams. Maybe some that always don't get on, but they're having some good seasons. Because there's some teams that have good games every week and we could put them on every time, but some of these teams that this matchups this week, I'm excited to look at that. Let's go down and look at the results from last week. Let's see, we had West Rusk got the loss to Gladewater. And I had West Rusk in this one. I just didn't think Gladewater was worth a pick there, but I'm wrong there. West Rusk took the L, and Gladewater goes to 2-1. Any surprise? Did anybody have Gladewater in this one? No. Corey, did you have Gladewater in this one?
I did.
Man,
There's one of the
30
two losses.
Yeah,
Wait a minute,
28.
yeah. I was talking about last week. Yeah, I picked Gladewater.
Yeah.
Over West Rusk.
Okay.
Yeah,
I picked Gladewater. My bad.
Well, and Gladewater had 28 people picked them. They were the underdog in this pick. 28 out of the picks, 34 had West Rusk, so it was an underdog pick. I was just surprised that West Rusk. I mean, I don't know. I thought that they would do a lot better in this game than they did. Maybe they're not. Maybe just Gladewater's a better team than I thought. But this really surprised me. Kyle, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I'd picked West Rusk. I didn't think. I thought Gladewater's wins early on were fluky, to be honest. But they've come out here and now got two very good wins. So maybe we need to keep an eye on this Gladewater team in that district that I think is pretty wide open. I know Tatum's in there, which is a very good football team. But I mean, you got Tatum, Atlanta, and Jefferson, teams like that. Gladewater can easily compete for a playoff spot, and I think, they may compete for a district title depending on how they do. I like what Coach Levere's got going over there. I think he got back to Gladewater roots. It seems like they're running the football more and kind of playing that ball control style, which is what made the Gladewater team successful in the past. So excited to see what Gladewater could do. But, I'm kind of like you. I expected more out of West Rusk, and they've kind of been a disappointment to begin the year.
Yeah, I think – I like Coach Made over at West Rusk. I thought their win over Diboll was good, and I thought that would be kind of a momentum burner. Momentum builder going into this Gladewater game, and I'm kind of with KO. I just wasn't really sure about Gladewater. Thought those wins were maybe a little fluky, but like you said, I think they showed us that they're here to play, and that is going to be a really good district down the stretch. It's going to be a battle. I think Atlanta's got a good team. Jefferson's looking really good so far. Tatum's looking really good. So I think it's going to be a slugfest going through district for that district.
You just want to stack wins, and 49ers got beat today by the Vikings, and got a family member that's a Viking fan. He's like, well, I don't know if you guys are going to make the playoffs. I'm like, it's week 2, And same thing with high school football. It's week 2, week 3. You got to learn from your luck. They took a thumping in week 2, and, they came back and get a win. So, but you're still trying to gauge. At this point, you're looking at, if you Coach Levere, you're trying to gauge your team, right? Like, what team's going to show up? We gotta stack wins and stack good weeks on top of good weeks. And see what happens. So the worst thing that happens is you win one week and then you lose another week. You win one week, that would drive a coach nuts, because I don't know what team is going to show up. And especially if you prepare each week and you have good weeks in practice, that drives me nuts. But they've got to put something together to be consistent. Out of 3 games, you've won 2. So let's see what Gladewater's going to do. Let's see what Gladewater team shows up this week.
To me, it makes it interesting in that District 11 of 3A Division 2. Now you've got, I thought West Rusk might have been coming in as the favorite. I think they would be a little bit down, but now you've got ARP, you've got New Diana surprising at 3-0. You've got Troop is struggling at 1-2, and they're playing a tough opponent next week. We'll have the game. They play Rusk. Then West Rusk at 1-2. This is going to be a kind of a wide open district. I don't know that. New Diana's 3-0, but they beat Sabine pretty bad last week. The quarterback got injured for Sabine, unfortunately, and they had to stop the game. But I don't know. That district's going to be interesting. But I think it's going to be a battle between West Russ, New Diana, Troop, and ARP for those 4 spots. But I could see any of those teams winning the district. So should make for an interesting district season. We'll have one of the ARP games, I think, against Buffalo in that
Wow,
district.
drive.
Yeah.
Is Buffalo coming to ARP or ARP going to Buffalo?
ARP's going to Buffalo.
That's a long drive, man.
Yeah, we'll have that game. I think Keith is going to be driving down to Buffalo for that one. So we'll have that game later in the year. But ARP's looking solid this year too. And so I could see them competing in that district. That's going to be interesting. All those little rivals. And then you've got Buffalo and Elkhart kind of those are a little bit of a treks there. But Winona struggled so far. They've yet to win a game. They're the only team that hasn't won a game. So it'll be interesting in that little district. Next one, I'm going to let Kyle tell us about this one because he was at this game. I picked Palestine Westwood in this game. I just thought the size of the school and then the amount of talent that Westwood has versus Timpson. I knew they had talent, but they didn't have Terry Bussey, and I thought that would be a difference against this. Now, when they go back down to competing against schools their size, I think it'll be a little different. But Palestine Westwood, they're a smaller school with a lot of talented kids, or a bigger school, but they have a lot of talented kids out there. And I'm interested to see what Kyle's take is. Is it just how much does Denman make a difference on that Westwood team?
Yeah, be careful. Don't call them Palestine Westwood. They don't like that.
That's
but
interesting.
There's beef there. But and to their credit, Westwood ISD is their own school district, so they're not a part of Palestine school district. So
like Tyler Chapel, we understand.
Yeah,
there's a separation there. Anyway, this Westwood team, man, like I said at the start of the show, I'm impressed. Kavian Bryant, their sophomore quarterback, and senior running back John Denman, they combined for over 500 yards. Denman finished the game. He had 15 carries for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bryant carried the ball 8 times for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bryant threw 2 incompletions all night. He was 10 of 12 through the air for 182 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Bryant had over 300 yards himself with 6 tutties. Denman had 232 on the ground and 2. Now, for Timpson, J.J. Garner, he did everything he could. He had 343 yards total and scored all 5 of Timpson's touchdowns. So it wasn't like he, just went out there and laid an egg. But the problem, and I said this Friday too, I think the issue, and this is not a slight on J.J. Garner, it's really a credit to how special Bussey is. But you can tell that this Timpson team, and I didn't see this Timpson team at all last year other than the state game, but you can really tell that they're missing that guy that can take over. And JJ did, like I said, 343 yards of offense. Like and 5 touchdowns. He did all he could, but he was it. Like he didn't have any help. It was almost like they were looking to him to be Terry Bussey, put the cape on, and figure out a way to win this game. And JJ he couldn't do it by himself. And in the game, they lost a couple of guys to injury. Decorian Jackson. He got hurt early in that game. He's a big playmaker. He had the big 97-yard, reception last year in the state game. So they had a couple of injuries, and with as small as Timpson is, you lose a couple of guys, you're in a world of hurt because you don't have a lot of depth. So
that could be like losing 2 guys, Kyle, because that person's probably playing both ways.
Right, exactly. And so, and what was, at halftime it was a 14-point game, and coming out of halftime, Timpson got the ball first. It really had a methodical drive. Took about 6 minutes off the clock, went down, scored, and got within a score of Westwood. But then Westwood came out, 1 play, 75-yard touchdown. Like it was stuff like that where it just seemed like Westwood could get anything they wanted, and Timpson just had to scratch and claw for every single thing. So very impressed with this Palestine Westwood team. I think they're easily the favorite in their district, 9-3A Division I. They got Crockett, Diboll, Fairfield, Huntington, and Teague. I think they run through that district pretty easily, but I like this team, man. They're physical. They are a they play a physical brand of football where they will hit you in the mouth on both sides of the ball. And it almost felt like all night Timpson was catching instead of tackling, and Westwood was just laying the lumber all night. So really impressed with this Westwood team. Not too panicked about this Timpson team. I don't think they're as good as they were last year, obviously, but they'll still make the playoffs, and I think they'll still make a run. So wouldn't fret too much about this Timpson team, but all stars point to yes for this Westwood Panther football team.
So it says more about what Westwood is, not really a knock.
I think so. Okay. Yeah, I think so. Now, Timpson defensively is not near as good. Their tackling is, and Coach Gandy spoke about it earlier in the week. He told me, he said, we got to tackle better. And they didn't tackle better on Friday night. So need to shore up the tackling, because if you make those tackles, then maybe Westwood has to run a few more plays. There was a point headed into the fourth quarter Friday night. In the second half, Westwood had only ran 6 plays but scored 3 times. So if you can make those tackles, then you don't give up those big plays, and then you have more chance of something happening where you get a turnover or something like that. So tackling is going to have to be a point of emphasis for Timpson going forward.
So that Westwood team is averaging 65 points a game through 3 weeks of the season. That's ridiculous.
Hey, is that good? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Not bad.
Did anybody pick Timpson in this group?
Mm-mm.
No, I didn't. I definitely didn't pick Timpson. You know what the part that sucks about Timpson? It would suck to have been a junior last year and to come back as a senior this year. It's like, dude, why am I even playing? Because we're gutted now. I'm having to. Well, I know it's my senior year, but that last hurrah, you knew it was going to be that big thing. Now it's like, we're playing pickup. We're not the same. We're not the same strength, and now these other teams are coming in. They're juicing up. We got the target on our back. Westwood is loaded, and I agree with Kyle and what they're saying. Don't call me Palace. Don't put Palace in front of my name. That's disrespectful. Don't put Tyler in front of Chapel Hill. I hate that. Like, anybody from Chapel Hill knows, don't put Tyler in front of Chapel Hill. Like, I hate that. We're Westwood, and you should be Westwood. And I like that. To have your own distinction away from, But I mean, I've been reading about Westwood for a couple of years. They've been catching steam, and obviously we know they're going to be good for the next 2 years, at least. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
All right, Jaron, you have anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
No, that Timpson team, they're going to be okay, like you said, Kyle. I see what you're saying, Corey, but they have a good win over Lovelady, which is a solid team. I think when they're playing schools their size, as they go through district and even the first 3-4 rounds of the playoffs, I think they'll be just fine.
Kyle, go ahead.
I don't know who the running back was before, or who was scheduled to be the running back before Denman came in, but to your point, he brings an aggressiveness and a physicality to this team that it's as stocky and big as he is, you wouldn't think he would be as fast. Boy can move. He can scoot. He outran angles on these Timpson players on an 85-yard touchdown last week. So, just this Westwood team, I'm very impressed with.
All right. Next game on the schedule was a scheduled Friday game. This was a interesting. I think Kyle, you broke this story. I think, or you found this out that they didn't have referees for this one, the Albegoden or City, and they were people headed to the game, and they rescheduled it to Saturday. I mean, I hate that for everybody involved in that. But they did play the game yesterday, and Albegoden got the win, 48-12. Not surprisingly, not close. I had Albegoden. Jaron, did you do this? Did you pick with your heart in this game?
I picked with my heart in this game, and it did not bode well. I hate it for Coach Kubiak. He's such an offensive mind, and they've had a hard time getting offense going so far in the first 3 weeks of the season. He's been a successful offensive coordinator for 13, 14 years, and and gets his opportunity as a head coach, and they're just not clicking, yet. Now again, he's installing a new system, and a system that's got a lot of particularities to it, and so I know it'll take some time, but I'm hoping he gets a win in the coming weeks. But yeah, so it was all Alba Golden on this one. So
yeah, and it blew my mind how something like this can happen. How you get to game day 3 or 4 hours before the game and then realize, oh, we don't have officials. Like and Jaron, I don't know Coach Kubiak as well as you do, but I was able to talk to him this offseason when we did a district preview with them. Great guy. Love talking to him, and I think he's an excellent guy. But that falls on Ore City. Like, that's the home team's responsibility to make sure now both coaches got to agree to the officials, but it's on the home team to make sure that they got the officials there and that all that's taken care of. So somebody somewhere, I'm not blaming Coach Kubiak for it, but somebody somewhere dropped the ball on that one. And I don't think it did anything other than piss off Alba Golden, which made probably Saturday a little worse. But to your point, Jaron, about Ore City, and yeah, they have struggled offensively this year a little bit, but I think it's more of a credit to Alba Golden. Alba Golden's defense is for real. I think they got a really good defense over there. They held Overton to 12 points, lost to Mount Enterprise and gave up 42, but Mount Enterprise was putting up 60 and 70 last year. So even that, I think, is an improvement. And then this Ore City game to only hold them to 12 points. I think it says more about Alba Golden's defense than Ore City's offense necessarily, but I don't think Alba Golden, looking at their schedule, Sims Bowie, Como Picton, Rivercrest, I don't think they're really going to have a challenge till Honeygrove on the 18th, and they get Honeygrove at home. I think that may be your battle for a district championship. I think Cooper's a little down this year too.
Yeah.
So I think Alba Golden and Honeygrove should be for your district title in Alba that week. So, but yeah, I think I hope Coach Kubiak has better success at Ore City. It's been kind of a rough start for him, but I think Alba Golden is very good defensively. So I think if you're Ore City, maybe don't take too much stock out of this game because Alba's a really good football team.
I don't want to be disrespectful, and I got a nickname, Alba
But
I like that nickname, Abba Golden. So if he catches, it's just magic in Alba Golden, Abba Golden. But anyway, no, I don't know much about the teams, but I will say this: a Saturday game is always cool, and we talked about this several times over about having a Saturday game. I know Vince and JD, we talked about it, off camera, and we've discussed it, in the past here as well. I know Jeremy has said that coaches don't like it, Saturday games, but I'm wishing that maybe we have a second 0 week, in Texas football that maybe allows them to play a Saturday game so they can have that week off. That they play a Saturday game. Whatever. I don't know. I'm fond of those games. I like early Saturday games or something like that. I don't know, but for those kids, I mean, you don't get a chance to relax on Friday because you got something to do Saturday morning or Saturday day, and then possibly for families you gotta not prepare for that Friday night. But it messes with your schedule. And like you said before, Kyle, somebody dropped the ball. But if you think about it, if both coaches have to agree on the officials, the coach that didn't, you have to agree on the officials. It didn't dawn on the other coaches like, you know what, I didn't get a thing for the officials today. I'm pretty sure that crossed his mind late. And I'm pretty sure it could have been something like that.
If you're the visiting coach, that's not you're not thinking about that. That's not your responsibility.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Trust me, I know. But I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty. He could have been going to Whataburger getting something to eat on the bus, and he's like, "We don't have any officials for tonight's game, do we? What are you talking about? I never agreed on any officials. We're not even playing tonight. Stop the bus."
Yeah, I told you we ran into the Alba Golden band in the Whataburger on the way to our game. Elijah and I did, and I was like, I wonder if they had found out by that point that they had nowhere to go.
I mean that's got to be weird, man.
That's just crazy. Now the next one here on my list, the Sabine New Diana game. had a not so great ending. The Sabine quarterback knocked out, life flighted, I think, from the field. I don't know, Kyle, did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I got an update for you.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, I wasn't at the game, but and our reporter that was there left at halftime, and so we didn't see anything. From what I understand, Colt Sparks, who's the quarterback for Sabine, he's a Texas Tech commit. He'll be a Red Raider next year. But he was running with the football and got hit, and they said it was a head and neck injury. So, precautions there. They, from what I heard, now again, what I heard, they had to cut his jersey off and everything. So I don't know, but anyway, they stretchered him off. I didn't know. He may have been life flighted. I just know he was transported to a local hospital. I reached out to Coach Cody Gilbert Saturday morning for an update on Colt Sparks, and he told me, quote, all of Colt's scans were clear. He was released from the hospital early this morning, and he is at home resting. So excellent news. Excellent news there. Also saw from his mom. His mom posted on Facebook that, she appreciates all the thoughts and prayers from the community, which, side note, East Texas did what East Texas does and showed up and showed out with love of outpouring of support for the Sabine community and Colt Sparks. So, but also said that he fractured his wrist somehow in all that. So, and I don't know if it's a throwing wrist or a non-throwing. So I don't know what his status is for Friday. I would assume he's probably not playing, but I don't know his status. It's just great that he's okay and that he's healthy. It's definitely a scary situation. They called the game in the third quarter after the injury happened. But yeah, it's a tough
Kyle,
situation there, and I'm glad he's okay.
He's not Chad Gable, where he's going to get shot and killed 1 week and then next week show up on.
I don't think so. Now, obviously, I'm sure he'll be at the game. I don't know if he'll be suited up. I don't know how severe the injuries were. It's great news that all the scans came back clear, so that's positive. But again, with the wrist, I don't know if it was his throwing wrist or not. So obviously, if it's a throwing wrist, he ain't playing. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. It's just good that he's healthy.
That's good news. The wrestling fans may get the reference on that one. Sorry, you guys were confused on the right side of the screen here.
They didn't get that. That's okay. It's all right.
It's all right. That means you need to listen to more Off the Ropes. If you listen to Off the Ropes, you would know the reference. And so there we go. Good news is he's okay. Tough news for him. New Diana was just spanking him at that point in the game, 32-0, and they did call it there. I think it was in the third quarter when they called the game. So 60 out of the 69 people that picked this game had New Diana winning. Did anybody have Sabine here? No? Okay. All right. So we all got that one correct. All right. Next game up was Palestine. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jaron.
On New Diana, they may run the table. Looking at their schedule for the rest of the season.
Hey, now wait a second. Now they've got ARP on the schedule. I think that district's going to be challenging.
I'm telling you, I don't know, dude. They are beating. I mean, you got Redwater, Winona, West Rush, Troop, Buffalo, ARP, Elkhart. Man, I think they may run it.
They could.
I think New Diana goes undefeated through the regular season.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have any problems. I don't know what old Diana did, but New Diana's pretty good.
Yeah, that's just a tough district. I definitely could see them win, but I think they're gonna have some challenges. I don't think they just run through the district as in just beat everybody bad.
Man, but man, no one's even coming close right now. I mean, they are. They're just controlling it.
Yeah, but who have they? I mean, Sabine was undefeated, but I don't know how good Sabine was. Who have they beat though?
Gladewater, who beat West Rusk.
Yeah, but how good? I mean, I think West Rusk is down.
Right?
I think West Rusk.
But my Gladewater beat Dangerfield too, who is 0-3 and not looking good at all. Then Gladewater also beat help me. Who'd they just beat?
West Rusk.
They just beat West Rusk.
Mount Vernon.
I mean, and they beat Mount Vernon, who
Diana beat Mount Vernon. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I how good are these teams really? I think
Right.
what I'm impressed with is New Diana's putting up points, and that will travel. I mean, you can well, defense travels, but if you're putting up points like this, you found something offensively. We just talked about that Westwood team that's averaging 65 points a game. New Diana's not far behind them. I mean, this 32 kind of hurt them, but I think they play a full game. They get up in the 40s, maybe the 50s.
Well, but to your Sabine had two pretty quality wins over Spring Hill and Harmony, and they shut out Sabine.
Harmony's not is down. Spring Hill's never a football school. I don't know that I would count those.
Spring Hill's not,
and it was real close with Spring Hill too.
Spring Hill is their basketball school and their baseball school. They're not football. I can't tell you the last time Spring Hill's been good in football. I can't recall that. I mean,
they've been decent. They haven't been horrible.
Now they're bigger.
Like
they are
stuck
bigger.
They've been stuck in a district where they couldn't compete. That's the issue there.
Well, and they're bigger. That's a bigger school, which you step up a classification. That is a little bit impressive. But if it had been like they stepped up and they beat a Center or a Russ or somebody a little bit more competitive in a district, then I might take that. Not to say they're not going to win. I think they could go through the district and win. I just don't think it's going to be easy. I think Troop's been a little bit down early. They're always pretty solid. I still think West Rusk will be solid. I think that I wouldn't count them out, and ARP as well. I think those three games in the district will be competitive. Now there'll be a few that'll be blowouts for sure, but I think those will be a good competitive. That district's going to be more interesting than it has been in a few years. I think it's more wide open though. All right.
I mean, I think there's quality teams in there. It'll come down, but I think New Diana, on paper anyway, from what we've seen early on, is the best team in the district.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Palestine and Athens. Palestine, just tough start. I mean, I don't know if it's the adjustment of the coach or just they're just taking a step back. Of course, we just talked about Denman, who transferred to Westwood. I'm sure that didn't help as well. They take the L to Athens. I had Athens in this one. Did anybody have Palestine?
I didn't pick Palestine.
No, it was a 56-13 Athens picks over for Palestine. So Athens was the favorite. I don't know. This one was hard for me. I just think Athens has got more things rolling for them right now, and they've had a couple of wins here. They lost to Henderson, which they're an improved team week one, but 2 straight wins. And Palestine's just having a tough time at it. I hope they can get it rolling. It may not be this year, may not be the year for them. It's just going to be tough. But I think Athens, them dropping down to Division II is going to help them.
Yeah, I don't think you count victories in Palestine right now. It's not about counting victories. It's about that 1% improvement every week. And if they can get better each week, that's what you count right now. And trying to get everybody implemented in the offense and, teach the youngins how to the offense, the schemes. And, it's a 0 year for them right now.
Yeah, and they got a tough slate. Marshall, Henderson, Chapel Hill, Lindell, Kilgore, and Maybank and Pine Tree. That's a tough slate.
Yeah, they could not win a game.
That's what I was about to say. I was going to ask y'all, find me a win for Palestine. Maybe Maybank. I mean,
maybe
that's the only game that I think Palestine's going to be favored in. Because like you said, Marshall, Henderson, Chapel Hill, and
they just lost
tough.
to Athens. Athens lost to Henderson, so that one doesn't look good. I don't know. That would be them and Maybank. You're right; those are probably the weakest 2 on the schedule. We've seen what Pine Tree can do. We know how good Lindell, Chapel Hill, and Kilgore are usually. So I mean, that's a tough schedule. And I don't know if Coach Reyes inherited that schedule or if he was able. I don't know if he scheduled, but this is. I mean, Nacogdoches 5A, Jasper 4A Power, Athens. That's a natural rival. Marshall 5A. I mean, geez. I mean, you want to give yourself a challenge, but that's going to be tough.
We talked about Maybank, but if you look at how Maybank's done this year, they're 1-2, but they lost by 1 point to Bullard. and then they got a win over Kemp, which it's Kemp. But then they went on the road to Wills Point and only lost by 11 to a really good Wills Point team. So it's not a given that Palestine gets that win over Maybank. But I think when you look at the schedule, unless they upset somebody, I think that's the only win I see for Palestine on the schedule. They could surprise me, but that's not even a guarantee. So it's a tough first year for Coach Reyes, but yeah, absolutely brutal schedule.
Athens is an interesting spot, though, guys. They're in that district with Carthage, and it's going to be some battles in there. I think Carthage is the best team in the district by far, but you've got Brownsboro. They're not usually very good. Rusk right now is kind of up and down. Center's rolling right along. They're going to be a tough opponent, but then you have Bullard that last week. So I think Athens makes the playoffs in this district. I think they're, to me right now, maybe the third best team in this district behind Center and Carthage. Maybe.
I think they're going to the 3 seed.
I think them and Rusk are going to be battling for that 3rd and 4th spot to me. I mean, I know Bullard may have a say in that. I don't think Brownsboro is going to be much of a challenge this year. I think those last 2 spots are going to be up for grabs with those 3 teams. But no one's really surprised by this, I don't think. You guys got anything else on this game? Next game, we had this on NETSN. Our man Larry was down in St. Augustine covering the Carlisle Indians and the St. Augustine. I can't think what's their mascot down there? I can't remember. Wolves. There you go, the Wolves. Thank you. Thanks for that. I think I did a Jaren on this pick. I think I picked with my heart. I was hoping my Indians would go down there and get the win. But they just couldn't get it together and couldn't pull it out as St. Augustine got their first win. So it was a battle of 2 0-2 teams. And this one, I just thought Carlisle, getting to see them play Overton, and we'll have Carlisle this week. That's where me and Jaren will be, though they're going to be coming to Bullard to face Brookhill. They've got a really good core of sophomores that are really impressive. And that Overton game that we covered, it was a lot closer than the score. There was 4 times, Jaren, I think they had 4th down inside the red zone and got stopped. Otherwise, that game would have been a totally different game. But St. Augustine the Wolf Pack was out with a 47-18 win. But I think Carlisle, every game they get under their belt with those group of sophomores, they'll improve. And we'll see how they do when they get to district. But right now, they're just keep trying to get better every week. I think Coach Sharp has said that when we talked to him, Jaren.
Yeah, they're so young. They got, I think, 4 seniors playing, and they got some guys that will hopefully be back as the season progresses that aren't playing right now. And so I think going in the district, they'll be okay. But, they have a pretty tough slate schedule-wise too, even before you go to the district. So, but I'm with you, Brett. I chose with my heart. It's another one I chose with my heart on, and Carlisle fell. But, I really appreciate what Coach Sharp is doing with that team. We've gotten to talk with him a little bit, and just, such a respectful guy, and East Texas product himself. And so I'm really pulling for him. And I think the Indians will get it going. That program knows success. They were successful for a really long time. And so I think they'll taste it again. It just may take a year or 2.
Yeah, they've got a tough non-district slate because they've still got Brookhill, and then they have Shelbyville, who's having a really good season. I don't know if y'all saw the end of the Shelbyville game, but Hail Mary winner as time expired this week. Man, the district, though, I think they could compete. Frankston's having a pretty good season, but I think they could compete for a district playoff spot there in the district that they're in. But we'll see how it goes as they get going. Kyle, what do you think about the Indians and the Wolves?
I did the same thing you did. I picked with my heart because I saw Carlisle against Overton, and even though they didn't win, I thought, they got some salty players on there. They'll be all right. And then, I think looking back on it, if I would have picked with my head, Overton's speed is what hurt Carlisle, and St. Augustine definitely has speed. So if I would have thought with my head, not my heart, I probably would have picked the Wolves. But I agree with everything that y'all are saying. I got to talk to Coach Sharp this offseason too. Outstanding guy. I think he's the right guy for that program. They're just going to need to give him some time to get these young kids developed and going forward. But yeah, to your point, Brett, there's a core of sophomores that are getting playing time, which is invaluable right now. So it may not show itself this year, but in the next couple of years, you'll see the struggles that you're having now. The fruits of your labor will show in a couple of years when those guys are more veteran and more seasoned and able to go. But yeah, I think Carlisle's going to be fine in their district, but this week's going to be a tough one for them.
All right.
I don't have anything to add. A piece of Augustine.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Game 7. By the way, on that one, St. Augustine had 45 people picked them and 24 picked Carlisle. So the favorite did take that one. The next one, Game 7, Carthage and Liberty Allo. And I would not want to be Liberty Allo last week. Carthage coming off at a bye, and then before that they lost week 1, which does not happen very often. As Kyle, I think, pointed out, it had been the last time that Carthage had lost in a regular season game. It was quite a while ago, wasn't it?
I want to say over 2,800 days. So 6 years, 2016 maybe, I think.
Man, all he had to do, I think all Coach Surratt had to do was write L on the board there, loss. And for 2 weeks they had to look at that L on the board. And Liberty Allo didn't have anything for them as they took the L to Carthage 58-20, and in a romping there. Surprisingly, 8 people picked Liberty Allo. I don't know. I'm pretty sure none of you guys picked Liberty Allo, right? I mean,
no.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe we had some Liberty Allo fans on here, but maybe they were just trying to get an upset special. Thought Carthage was going to lose 2 games in a row for the first time in 40 years. I don't know. Probably it hadn't been that long, but
2016. That year they had that loss. They lost back to back.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So it'd still been a while. Okay. So just a no surprise. And Carthage has got a big one coming up this week that we will talk about in our pick'ems here shortly. But any thoughts on this game, guys?
There was some question about Jet playing. At least on paper, there was some question about Jet playing. And so you still got Edwards. You still got those. It's a solid team even without Jet. So I still think it's a win for Carthage even without Jet. But I like what Coach Willard's doing at Liberty Allo. Coach Willard, came from Mount Vernon. Well, I think he went to Legacy, right? And then he went to Mount Vernon. I mean Mount Vernon and Legacy, and now at Liberty Allo. He's come from that kind of Art Browse, coaching tree, if you will. And I think he's done a really good job with this team. One of the Coach Surratt's, I think, nephews is on this Liberty Allo staff. That might be how this game happened. But I think it was all Carthage.
Not surprised. Not going to spend too much time on this. Carthage did what they had to do, and that's a mark of a good. We knew after week 1, Carthage was still a good football team, and I think the thoughts of their demise were greatly exaggerated. Like I don't think that they lost by 5 to Kilgore in week 1, and sky's falling in Carthage. They don't have a good still a good football team. Still a really good football team.
We talked about Gladewater, New Diana, Sabine, and all those schools that we don't know how good they are because they won one, lost one, and all this kind of stuff. Boy, 4A Division 1 and 2, Chapel Hill, Kilgore, Gilmer, Carthage, Pleasant Grove. How good are these teams? Carthage was pissed. I keep using that same quote off of Little Giants. My favorite quote is, who is that? That's my niece Becky. She's pissed. Carthage was Becky. And unfortunately, little Liberty Allo had to be the opposing team. And guess what happened? The big red machine comes through by the name of Becky, and they just destroy everything in his path. No pun to the hurricane. I hope everybody's okay. But nonetheless, that's basically how it is. They're not losing 2 in a row, and you face Liberty Ilo, which is Liberty Ilo's got having a great year already, you know, and they got a nice wide receiver going to Texas A&M, committed to Texas A&M. So, but I mean, they're not. He's not the whole team, right? But Carthage is going to come in and do what Carthage does. Big red machine. They're like T2. We're just gonna keep plugging away, do what we do, and it's laughable because it's like, yeah, I mean, we're not. I'm not doubting Carthage, right? Liberty Island's having a good year, but you're not beating Carthage. I think I was watching the game. It was like 21-0, and it was still like 3 or 4 minutes left in the first quarter. They just do what they do. So that was no brainer. Carthage all the way.
All right. The upset special of the week.
More controversy.
Yeah. Yes. Surprise! It's a Gilmer game. Kilgore takes the L to Gilmer, and what a game this was. This game was still going after the game that I went to was over, and I was in the parking lot, so I watched a little bit of this game. And the last quarter was back and forth, and I actually didn't get to see the very end. I think somebody named Jaron called me and interrupted me watching this game down the road. No, I'm just messing with it. I did call him, but I was watching this, waiting for him to call me back because I actually called him. And it was a back and forth battle. Like I think first Gilmer had scored, then Kilgore went back and scored, then Gilmer went and scored, and then Kilgore was driving at the end. That's when you were talking about the controversy of the injury and the rule of the injuries. Now, I think it was like 5 or 6 seconds left. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. Player goes down for Kilgore. They're in field goal range, in very close in, and the referee blows the dead for an injury. Well, if you don't have a timeout, there's always a 10-second runoff, which ran off the rest of the time of the game. And so instead of getting a short chip shot field goal to get the win, the game's over and Gilmer wins. Now, 2 weeks in a row, this time Gilmer got the favorable of the call. At least they think. Last week, I think the right call was made. But what a game! I mean, we're in week 2, or actually this is week 3 games, and we've already had some incredible finishes. There's another one that had an incredible finish that I was at that we'll talk about here in a minute. But man, I was just surprised, man. Gilmer, we talked about that. Where is Gilmer going to find a win? I think we talked about this. We went down their schedule on this show a few weeks ago. Where are they going to get a win? And they found one in Kilgore, which does not thought they were going to get one if they were going to get it. And what a big win for Coach Metzel and their program.
Can someone help me understand what the controversy is? Like, that's the rule. If you don't have a timeout and a player gets hurt, it's a 10-second runoff. I mean, now I didn't see the game. I didn't see the play. Was the kid legit hurt, or could he have gotten off the field? Because I think that's another part of it. Like, there's a difference when, and this has always bothered me from NFL down. If someone hurts their shoulder or something and they just lay there on the ground, like, it's your shoulder, it's not your legs. Get up and walk off the field. Like, that's something that's always bothered me. If it's an upper body injury,
the rule should be coached, Kyle. They should know. The kids should know this rule. Like, this is something now they probably will never forget. But you have to know, if you've been playing football for that long, that you can't just lay down and take an injury and they have to know their timeouts. That has to be in the huddle. You have to know, okay, no timeouts. It's just in the.
I mean, but you're not. I don't think you're thinking that if you're a kid. You're right. Your adrenaline's going. Especially football is different from basketball. You've been taught, if you're injured, lay. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, if you're hurt, just stay there. Don't try to walk off. I've heard them say that several times if you're injured.
I mean, I don't know.
But, I mean, you're not thinking about a timeout. You know what I'm saying?
You got to, though. That's the awareness.
Right.
You got to be.
In the heat of the moment,
even if even if you're as a player not thinking about it, that should come with because I'm sure before that, when they used their last timeout, coach should have been, hey, we have no timeouts. And then I think, it's probably back of your mind, but hey, if you're hurt and you can move, let's not lay down. Like we gotta, like I'm sure that was back of the mind, and it may not even been mentioned.
Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this situation, they're trying to get up to the line to spike it. They're not going to run a play there. They're going to spike the ball. So just stand up, and if you're hurt, if your leg's not broken, which I don't think he was, I think it was just an injury. He could have, from what I understood, what happened was he was there standing there, and he just went down all of a sudden to as an injury.
Because and that could be where he thought, oh well, if I'm hurt, they're going to stop the clock, which they will, but he didn't think about, oh well, then it's a 10-second runoff. Because to your point, Corey, yes, you're tight, you get hurt, lay down, just stay down, and we see it all the time with people in a hurry up offense. People, oh, I'm down, and then all of a sudden they get magic water squirted on them and they're good to go. So like, and I'm not blaming the kid saying he was faking it. I'm not saying that. But to my earlier point, unless your legs are broken or it is a lower body injury, if it's an upper body injury, in that moment is not a time to lay down. That is a time and to your point, Brett, like if you're just going to spike the ball, you could be in pain, but if you can at least stand there in position, you spike the ball, kick the field goal, you win the game. So I don't know. I mean, hats off to Gilmer. Like, we knew they were a good football team, and we knew that they weren't. But, yeah, we were talking last week. Where's the win come? I thought it may come this week against Lindale. I thought that may be their one chance to get the win in non-district. They pulled one out against a very game Kilgore team. So, I mean, controversy is going to follow. I think we see the worst of people on social media. Like, social media is a cesspool. And what we have to remember at the end of the day, these are kids. These are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. Like, we are talking about children that are not adults. Like, your life and your happiness should not be predicated on a 14, 15, 16-year-old
And this
kid.
was
Like,
a non-district game, Kyle. This didn't even really count.
It doesn't count. Like, it counts.
Right,
you want to win those, but at the end of the day, Kilgore still has a chance to win a district title. Gilmer still has a chance to win a district title. Like, I get you want to win, but come on, man. Like, let's back off the kids a little bit. Now, if you want to go at the coaches, that's one thing.
Compete and learn.
You don't go at compete and learn.
Learn from this. Now you got something coachable to tangible to go back at film and like, okay, this is something you can't do. We can coach this. These are games that you try to measure yourself, see where you are, try to get better at the things you need to improve on and move on. Like, I know you want to win every game. I always want to win every game. If you don't want to win, there's something wrong, right? You're not a competitor if you don't want to win every game. If you're like just coming up, oh, I don't care if we win, I'm just here, there's something wrong with you. Like, just being in sports and being competitive, that's the fun part, right? You don't want to go lose. I mean, who wants to step out in the field and just, I don't care if we can just lose. I'm okay with that. No. Like, you want to win, but if you lose, take the L, learn from it, and move on. I mean, that's bottom line.
I think the surprising thing is Coach Metzel kicking the extra point instead of going for two, because if that injury thing didn't happen, Kilgore comes down and kicks that field goal, game's over. So that extra point really didn't get anything for you for Coach Metzel. And I was reading something on that. And so that could have really gone sour. Now, again, in their favor, it didn't. But that could have he could have taken some heat for that one if that would have turned out a little differently.
I love when I gotta laugh at this. I absolutely love internet coaches. I absolutely love internet coaching. And this is why I say a big difference between internet coaches and people who have been around the game, coached the game, and they may be in and out. They're different. The game. I got you, but it's like, man, you play a little Madden, you play a little NCAA. In the heat of the moment, coach is probably saying, "I'm putting in the hands of my defense." I believe in my defense. If we do this, we can do this. And a lot of times coaches do that. What if they don't get a 2-point conversion? Nobody ever thinks about that. What if do you have the perfect play for us to score a 2-point conversion on? Which one's more probable, extra point or a 2-point conversion? Because if you get a 2-point conversion, you don't make it, then everybody's gonna say you should have went for one.
Well, it
When you
doesn't
went for
matter though. I mean, it
yeah,
doesn't
it's
matter.
like it doesn't matter. Like
That
at
one
the end of
point
the
doesn't
day,
do anything.
you still have to get a stop, right? At the end of the day, it's still going to go to the defense. If they throw a 97-yard touchdown pass like the Vikings did today, it doesn't matter whether you went for 2 or you went for 1. They still score and you still lose. So it doesn't matter. But what I'm gonna
Well,
say about this, I
I
do want
think
to say about
Corey.
this though.
I think
What's
Corey,
up?
what he's saying is the point spread is what he's going for.
Yeah.
If he didn't,
Oh,
if you didn't make the extra point, it was a 1-point game. He kicked it, it was 2. It's still a field goal beats you, is what Jaron was trying to say. If you went for 2, then at least you had a shot to get a 3-point game where a field goal would just tie the game. Right? Is that what you're going for,
Yeah,
Jaron?
that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, because if Kilgore would, if you take away that 10-second runoff deal, they kick that little chip shot field goal. They have a good field goal kicker. They win that game because Metzel went for, kicked an extra point. So they were only up by 2. I mean, so yeah, say they went for 2, and they didn't get it. They were up by 1, which is the same as being up by 2.
right,
At
There's
the end of
no,
the
yeah,
right.
there's no
It's
way.
like it doesn't really matter. The field goal would have won the game.
Right.
I just. But then again, it goes back to what I'm saying before. I listen. Gilmore was gonna. It was gonna happen. I thought either Gilmore was gonna beat Chapel Hill, or they were gonna beat Kilgore. I think I said that at the beginning of the season. Either Gilmore was gonna beat Chapel Hill, or they're gonna beat Kilgore. You almost beat Chapel Hill, so guess what? You beat Kilgore. Is it daunting that Kilgore gets the L from? It doesn't. Man, listen. I'd rather lose to Gilmore than lose to Maybank. No disrespect to Maybank, but I mean Gilmer's Gilmer. They have a pedigree, you know. But at the end of the day, are you happy that you like? Man, Gilmer's been scratching and clawing and scratching, and they're punching up their weight class. The Pine Tree probably beat them more soundly than anybody has beat them before, but like beat them more soundly than Chapel Hill and Kilgore. So, and man, they've learned from that week 1 loss, and they played better and better each week. And you know, here goes that trap game for them. Now you go to Lindale. Lindale's coming off a loss, so it's definitely much so a trap game. They could be 1-3, or 1-3 going to district.
Yeah.
So it's different. But no, I did pick Gilmer to win this game. I just thought it was their time. I thought they were due.
Wow, you were one of 5 people that picked this game correctly, Corey. Good job. Did anybody else have Gilmer? I don't think we did. Probably did we? All right. Well, speaking of Lindale, Lindale goes into Van and loses by 5. And I had Lindale in this one. There was 15 people had Van. There was our second biggest upset special of the week. Man, this is and you talked about Gilmer. I think Lindale's going to come in pissed off. They just lost to their rival down the road. Kyle, if you're a Lindalian, how does it feel to lose to Van? Like, how does that make you feel?
Well, in my high school days, we never lost to Van, so I couldn't tell you.
You wouldn't know. Okay.
We also didn't play Van, so
okay.
Well,
Okay.
But no, it's Coach Cochran and the Eagles. They're not going to like that. And I heard a little controversy in that game as well with an onside kick with about 1 minute left. The official first called it was Van's ball, then said it was Lindale's ball, then they said it was Van's ball again. So, whatever. But from what I've heard from people that were at the game, Lindale had their opportunities and just kind of made some mistakes that prevented them from winning the game. Not to take anything away from Van. Knew Van was going to be a really good football team. Their only loss is to Pine Tree, who I don't know if you guys have heard, but Shine Tree's doing pretty all right this season. So I don't think that's a bad loss for Van. If you're Lindale, though, yeah, you're right. I mean, you can look at it and say, we probably should have won that game. what can we correct, because you have no rest for the weary, no time to lick your wounds. You got a tough Gilmer Buckeye team who's coming off with some momentum coming into your house to try and beat you on Friday night. So I think this Lindell Van game, it lived up to what a rivalry game should be. You know, it was back and forth, and it came down to the very end of the game. But congrats to the Vandals for getting the win. I will say, I do want to point out, thought it was very odd that the Vandals had a blue stripe on their uniforms. And I said, this is weird. Van doesn't have blue in anything. Like, that's, it's weird. But it was a throwback to the state championship team back in 1979. So it was a throwback to them. I guess that was what they wore on their uniforms at that time. They had some blue. Never in a million years would I have thought that a Vandal team would have blue on their uniform. So actually, I'm sorry. Here it is. So I got this from my buddy at the Van Zant News that covers Van. He said, Coach Moffitt confirmed that those were throwback uniforms last night in honor of the 45th anniversary of the 1979 state championship team. And they also had a 1979 state championship patch on their uniform as well. But a little oddity there, but yeah.
Okay.
So did you get a text from your buddy Jeremy?
No, I have not gotten a text from Jeremy, but David Barber texted a group chat, and he said, "How about them Vandals?" And Jeremy liked it, so Jeremy's well aware. Yeah, but again, with the games that when I was in high school, the last time I played Van was 8th grade, and I got a sack in that game, and we won. So
sack? Wow.
So I can say the last time we played Van, we won, but they took us off the schedule after that, so we didn't get to play him.
They saw that Kyle guy; he was going to be so good they didn't want to mess with him. I see.
Right.
I see. Jaron, what do you think about this game?
No, yeah, I mean, I picked Lindell, but give it to Van, especially coming off that loss against Pine Tree, had a little chip on their shoulder, and these rivalry games, that's kind of you see the best, and so good job to the Vandals, and we'll see how Lindell responds. Like I said, no rest for the weary. So,
Corey,
I'm gonna take a excerpt from one of my favorite movies, 40-Year-Old Virgin, where Kyle he's like, I saw the blue on your jersey, so I'm gonna take that as a sign of disrespect. That sounds Vandals. I saw the blue on your jersey, but no, it's a rivalry game, man. You throw everything out. I don't care if you stay ranked or not, man. You throw everything out of the water. I literally picked Lindell to win this game, and I was unpleasantly surprised, because I'm not saying that, I'm not. I dislike. I won't say I dislike anybody, but as far as a fan goes, I'm a fan more of Lindell than I am of Van. But I mean, Van's always tough, and then they're like, I don't want to call them the big red machine, but I'm gonna call them the other red machine, because they do what they do. And if you're Lindell, and Kyle, you said it early on. You you heard from a lot of people. This is a better Lindell team than they may have had in the past. And you may take your lumps early. It's okay if you're Lindell, but like I said, that trap game's coming. That trap game is here. You getting again. This is, you going into district play. You want to go on a high note, and this district game, this non-district game against Gilmer, it could mean something to them. So let's see how it goes this next week.
All right. And game 10, the Battle of Lake Tyler. The game I was at this week, I was actually off, and I got to go enjoy watching a game this week for the first time in I can't remember or when. As it was a tale of two halves in White House Friday night. The first half was all White House. They got the opening kickoff, and they drove down, had a 13-minute and something. I think it was actually 13-minute exactly opening drive, which entailed the entire first quarter. It had a lot of penalties. Chapel Hill looked really sloppy as far as making mistakes. A lot of offsides, personal fouls, some things like that's got to be cleaned up for the Bulldogs moving forward. allowed the drive to continue, and it was just they were just running it at them, running straight up the middle at them. And White House lost their quarterback last week, and I don't even know they had multiple guys play quarterback. I think there was like 3 or 4 different guys play quarterback. They had a Wildcat quarterback that played a lot. He was number 4. Of course, I didn't have rosters or any of that stuff because I was in the stands. But they just punched away 3 and 4 yards, 3 and 4 yards. And every time Chapel Hill would make a stop on defense, they would give up a penalty or they'd make some kind of a mistake and let White House continue the drive. And I mean, it was one of the most lethargic, like just crushing drives. You drive 13 minutes down, you punch it in, and you've got your 2 best players on the team sitting over here on the sideline, hadn't even touched the football, and it's in the second quarter. Brisbane had a rough first half. He threw a couple of picks, injured himself on the second interception toward the end of the first half. Made an aggressive throwdown slam of the guy that intercepted it and hurt his left shoulder. I don't know the status of the left shoulder. I do know it was kind of drooping. He did go back in the game in the first half. He came out, and obviously it wasn't his throwing shoulder. He came back out and played, but came out without his pads for the second half. And after that interception, White House punched it in. So it was 13-0 after the missed extra point going into the half. And I just couldn't believe what I saw. I hadn't got to see Chapel Hill this year, but they just didn't look like the team that I was expecting to see. They looked down. So the sophomore Malik Gee came in and played quarterback the second half and led the team back. But Ricky Stewart was the cog in that. I mean, he was that guy. He broke off a really long touchdown run to get the scoring open in the second half. Then Chapel Hill got another touchdown. Had a 4th down conversion. Jonah Reardon with a big catch inside the 5, and we're able to punch it in with Stewart. And it was 14-13. And they got the ball back again. And Stewart had one of the most crazy runs of the night. I don't know, Corey was probably watching it when he was on the right side and he broke a few tackles, and you know how everyone swarms to the ball. Well, he broke a few tackles and he went the other direction, went all the way around, and kind of the game clinching touchdown, or so we thought. Now, we talked about points and the strategies here. This is where I thought it was a 20-13 game with a few minutes left, not much time left in the game. This is where the band starts playing. They start playing "Na Na 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 Goodbye." I'm like, whoa, guys, what are we doing here? I thought we should have went for 2 there and put the game at 9 and just sealed it. I'm like, we can end the game right here. Let's make it I know it's one of those weird things. You go up by 8, but you leave that door open that they can go down and tie it. I'm like, man, I wish we had just punched it in. We got the best running back in the state of Texas, probably. Give me him for 3-yard run on a 2-point. That's what I would have done and finished it off. But they didn't, and they made the extra point. White House drives down all the way down. I mean, there was a couple of personal foul mistakes on that drive. Let White House back into it. We knocked the quarterback out that was playing quarterback. They had to bring another quarterback in. Number 16, he started throwing darts. I mean, it was the best thing ever happened to them was when he came in the game. And they threw a corner touchdown to Coach Hooker, former Chapel Hill coach. His son is a senior on the varsity team at White House. Caught one in the very corner, and then they had a 2-point conversion to tie the game at the end. Now, of course, we get a penalty. Worst turnaround. There was a penalty in the end zone for I think it was a holding call. I thought it should have been pass interference on us, not holding, but didn't matter. So they moved the ball up. So now you've got basically 1.5 yards to get, and they'd been punching it in all day long. And I thought they were going to tie the game. We're going to overtime. The quarterback mishandles the snap and fumbles it and ends up falling on the ball back around the 5, and that was it. But man, I know that was descriptive, but I guess it's got a different perspective when I get to watch the game. I'm not trying to do a bunch of other things and kind of got to see it, but I was really impressed with White House. They had a really good game plan. I mean, their game plan was to ground and pound and eat up the clock and keep Stewart and Brisbane on the sideline. It worked for the most part the whole first half. But once Stewart got loose, in the second half. I mean, when they had to try to throw the ball, it worked a little bit, but you could tell it just wasn't their strength. I'm assuming the quarterback that they probably had starting was would have been better suited for that. But just overall impressed from White House. But I mean, Chapel Hill looked good at times, but they've got a lot of things to clean up, a lot of things that like it's got to be drilled into them. They can't be making. You can't jump off sides. I mean, I'm sitting next to a classmate, little kid, Sam, went to school together, and we're sitting there watching it. He said they've been doing it all year, but like when you can sit there and watch the ball, there's no excuse to jump off sides. They had probably 6 or 7 offsides penalties in that game. Just things they can't do later. They're not going to be able to do that against the teams that they're going to play later down the line. But overall, it was what I thought it was. Stewart was not containable, and he was just too much for White House at the end. But hats off to White House and their staff and players. They played an excellent game. Chapel Hill did as well, but just a little too much talent on the sideline of the Bulldogs.
All right. I didn't see the game, but I feel like I did now after hearing you. I feel like I watched the game.
He gave a very descriptive.
So
I mean,
you done well, kid. You done well. Listen, I disagree with you though. I think it was the right call to just kick the extra point, make it an 8-point game, because let's say that they do go for 2, and for some reason there's a bad snap like White House had, and you don't even get the ball to Ricky, the best running back in the state. Now you're up by 7, which an extra point ties it, or then you give it to White House where they could go for 2 and just win the football game. So I like the idea of going up by 8 because that kind of protects you. An extra point's not going to beat you, and they have to get 2 to just tie and keep the game alive. But Chapel Hill, man,
I just wanted that dagger, Kyle. Like, this game's over. Take that.
I understand, but that dagger could have been turned around on you real quick. So I think Reardon made the right call. But Chapel Hill, man, they these past 2 weeks they have been the cardiac dogs, not the cardiac cats, but the cardiac dogs, and it's good. I will say it's not good that Brisbane got hurt. I'm not saying that, but it is good to see that the backup quarterback can come in and lead the team, and there not be a letdown. Now I understand, like you said, Ricky carried it a lot of that, which that's what Ricky's there for. But it's also good that Malik, you said was his name, Malik Gee?
Yeah, Malik Gee.
It was good that he was able to.
He's a sophomore. He'll be the starter next year.
There you go. So it's good for him to come in and kind of right the ship, if you will, because it wasn't going well for Chapel Hill in the first half. He comes in second half. Ricky takes over the game, and and gets a win for Chapel Hill. From what I've heard and what I've seen, I'm a little concerned about Chapel Hill. I know Gilmer's a good football team, White House is a good football team, but these games last year they were blowing the teams like that out, and they're not doing that this year. Whether it be self-inflicted mistakes, mental mistakes, whatever's happening, it's just not doing that yet. And we're only 3 games in. It's a long season. Chapel Hill is planning on playing 16 games. So when you're 3 games in, let's not, sound the alarm just yet. But I will say it is a tad concerning that they are I say struggling. It's hard to say struggling when you're 3-0, but just not looking as we expected them to. But I do have to give a shout out to that defense. Defense seems like they are much improved off last year. Now, Brett, would you agree that they're more improved than from last season?
The defense was good. They had a lot of penalties. Like I said, that was a main problem. White House was able to run between the tackles fairly easily. That's something they're going to have to. And I think a lot of that. I mean, there's no more ADR. All Day Ross is not there, and I think that's the main thing I noticed different. Like, he ate up a lot of tackles, and that middle was where White House exploited. So I think they've got to clean that up. Otherwise, I think that the pass rush was fine when the White House dropped back to pass, but they got what they wanted right between the tackles, and that's a little concerning for me. But hopefully, that Coach McFarland and that defense can get that straightened out.
I'm more impressed that the scores have been lower than they were last year, which
Well,
leads
Kyle,
me to
when
believe
you
the
have a
defense is playing
13-minute
better.
drive that takes up, a fourth of the game, that's part of it. I mean,
That does help. Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to be brief. Their defense is much improved than last year's defense. By this time last year, they were giving up 38 points a game, and for their first 3 games, they're down to 22. So that's a big improvement. I don't care about the scoring on offense. Like I think Coach Ridden is a crafty enough guy. He can he can he can get some points some kind of way. I was more worried about us getting off the field on defense and giving up a big play. Right. The second half, White House had to score in the last minute of the game to really break even. You know what I'm saying? So their defense is much improved. They're not giving up big chunk plays where whether you want to be methodical or not, that's impressive to where you take 13 minutes to score, but let me tell you, it took you 13 minutes to score. That means we stop shooting ourselves in the foot. You punt the ball eventually. Now I give you that. We got to stop getting away penalties. But then again, at the same time, you Coach Ridden, I have to replace 3 or 4 guys that were all state and D1 football players. And we've got some size, but size doesn't necessarily mean skill. So, and then I got to get these guys playing varsity football. They were playing JV football the past year. So there's a lot of things that they're doing. But like I said before, if this is week 10 or this is week 7 and we're only giving up 19 points a game and we're winning, but I don't care. We're winning football games. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. And let's hey we I'll take an ugly win any day. And shout out to White House. They had a great game plan. It took ripped the page right out of Lindell's book. We're gonna run the football there now, albeit Lindell's probably got the best offensive line in East Texas. So, and they do it religiously. They do that exactly the way they're gonna do it. It's a good test for Chapel Hill. Because man, White House is, they're gonna model their offensive line play after Lindell. We're gonna keep the ball out of their hands. They score quick. And when Chapel Hill was able to score, they scored when they did. So, that's great. But at the end of the day, I'm Chapel Hill's biggest tests are this week and beyond. The next 4 weeks for Chapel Hill is a tell of tape. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to give a note to White House. Man, I think there's a really good chance they finish second in that district, just behind Texas High. I think they're improving, and so I'm excited for Coach Westerberg, and I think you got a tough matchup this week against a good Paris team that's 3-0. But then you go in the district, and I think they'll have a good shot at besides Texas High, kind of running the rest of the schedule there. So
They can get a quarterback. White House is all right. And that's the other thing too. Chapel Hill's secondary, besides those penalties, they're still making plays. I'd rather give up a pass interference penalty for you being aggressive because a pass interference penalty could be 50-50. You know what I'm saying? It really can be if you're on the road. If you're playing the ball and you're playing the right way, unless it's just a blatant grab, it could be 50-50 depending on where you are. So I'd rather them play that aggressive, stopping the run. Hey, listen, if you want to run all day long, that's fine, bro. As soon as we get the ball back, we're gonna run down your throat. But you can take 15 minutes to run the football. That's fine. But they didn't give up any explosive plays until the end of the game. They didn't give up anything big. So if you're Coach McFarland, you tell you guys 1% better each week. Sure some things 1% better each week. So we'll see. They got a test this week coming up.
Yeah, we say that every week, Corey. I think that's kind of the theme of.
The rivalry games are always you throw out records in the rivalry games. Records don't count. They just don't count. I hate it, but they don't count.
Well, it was definitely a challenge. That's for sure. Like I said, I was first game I'd attended, in a while, and boy, was it one to attend. It was a packed house, and first time I've been to White House Stadium in a while. You've been playing at Rose Stadium for so long, and what surprises me that I think that Chapel Hill actually, I think it was a 17-14 in favor of White House of the record. Chapel Hill won I want to say the first 12 or so in a row, and then White House has just dominated the series since then. So, good win for Coach Ridden and the Bulldogs this week, and that's going to wrap it up. Let's look and see. So our leaderboard after 3 weeks of our Pick'em Challenge, our man Scott Poole is still leading. He's at 26, and second is Wes Shoe, and we have a couple of people tied for third. We have Russ Miller and Steve Evans, our top three there. So trying to look down here. I see myself. I'm in seventh here at 20. I'm looking for anybody else. I don't see anybody else on the first page. On you guys, I don't know what page are you guys on. I'm confused on where everybody is. Let's see.
Okay. I don't know. I got 18 dubs. I'm above 500.
Well, you've passed Jaron, man. Jaron, you've been passed by Corey Marshall. No, I just want Kyle, where are you at? Oh, there you are. You're tied with Corey. Okay.
I'm down there, Bubba. I had a bad week. I went 5 and 5. That's why I said I got to start thinking with my head and stop holding grudges.
I was 4 and 6. I was rough. So after a solid week before. So
yeah, But the good news is there's a new week. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's take a look over here and see where our polls set out. Kyle, are you ready to go on our polls? Okay.
Absolutely not. But you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we can.
I'll just.
I sent you the link, so you should be good.
I know. I have them. I did the 6A 5A one, and I just opened up the 4A one. But go ahead and do them. But now I have the links.
All right, we'll talk 6A 5A first, since you've already done that one. That one's the official poll now, since Kyle is officially voted, so we're good now. All right, let's see how it shook out, and looks like no change in our poll for 6A 5A. As far as tabulated right now. Wait a second, that's not the right one, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay. We have Texas High staying at 2. Longview stays at 1, even after the loss to South of the Cliff. Then you have Lufkin at 3, Marshall 4, White House 5. This has been our consistent 5 for the last few weeks. I actually bumped Longview down to 2 in my poll. I think that was the only thing I had different. They did take a nail this week. Texas High is still undefeated, so I kept them above Longview for now. It could go. I mean, you could leave Longview up, but they did lose. Texas High still hasn't lost, so I moved them up, and so that's the only thing different in my poll. Jaron, what do you have in yours?
Yeah, I just flipped Texas High and Longview and left everything else the same. So I went Texas High, Longviews. I put Texas High in number 1 spot, in Longview, then Lufkin, White House, Marshall. That's what I got.
Okay. So. Okay. All right, Corey, if you were putting somebody in your poll, I know you didn't vote, but how do you see those guys? This 5 there. Do you like that order? Or you don't know? Who would be? Who's your number 1? Who's your number 1 if you were gonna vote? Longview or Texas High? Longview or Texas High?
I haven't been paying attention. That's a fair thing. I think Texas High is undefeated, right?
Yeah, they are.
I mean, so it would be Texas High. As long as they're in East Texas is good. So
Okay. All right. Let's look at the 4A. This ought to be interesting. There's a little shakeup in 4A this week. Let's see what we got. We have. Let's see here. We've got Chapel Hill at 1. No surprise there. Carthage now at 2. Kilgore drops to 3. Pine Tree at 4. Van at 5. Center 6. Pleasant Grove 7. Gilmer 8. Lindale 9. And Jasper at 10. What do we think there, guys? Darren, what do you got over yours? Do you like that?
I mean, so y'all are probably going to laugh at me, but I did put Carthage at 1 over Chapel Hill. I don't know. I just think they're a really good team. And then I got Chapel Hill right behind them. Then I got our Shine Tree folk. I moved them up a spot to number 3. I dropped Kilgore down to 4. Yeah, so that's what I got up there.
Okay.
I actually just finished it as you were mentioning what you were talking about. So I have Chapel Hill at 1 still. I kept Kilgore at 2, and my reasoning for that was had nobody fell down and got hurt, they probably would have won that game. That was my reasoning for keeping them at 2. So I kept them at 2, kept Carthage at 3. I put Pine Tree at 4. I moved up Center to 5 on mine. I moved up Van to 6 on mine. I got PG at 7, Lindell at 8, Gilmer at 9, and Sulphur Springs at 10.
Okay. Okay. Well, after Kyle submitted his vote, it did change a little bit there. Chapel Hill is now at 1, Carthage 2, Kilgore 3, Pine Tree 4, Van 5, Center 6, Gilmer 7, Pleasant Grove 8, Lindell 9, and Sulphur Springs now at 10. I had Sulphur Springs. I had Sulphur Springs as well at 10, Kyle. They're undefeated. They haven't lost. They've been impressive so far. So I did move them up into the poll.
So my vote has some weight. It swayed.
Yes, it does. It has some weight. There you go. Everybody has equal vote in our poll. It's all equal weighted. So, well,
let me do the 3A one then while you're talking.
Now, yeah. So I have Kilgore at 2 in mine, because they lost to a Gilmer team. It was close at the end, but then do I drop them below Carthage, who they've already beaten? That was kind of like, So I didn't drop them at all, even though they lost, because they lost to a good team. Now I did reward Gilmer and moved them up to 7. They were at 9 for me last week, so I did move them up, but they still only won 1 game. So I didn't, give them jump too high up. Now, if they win this week against Lindell's still ranked in my poll at number 9. So if they win this week, then maybe they'll bump. But I have a solid top. I mean, you have Chapel Hill, who hasn't lost. Kilgore only lost to Gilmer. Carthage has only lost to Kilgore. Then you have Pine Tree, who's beat Gilmer. You have Centers undefeated. They had an impressive win against North DeSoto this past week, which Jerry knows out of Louisiana. They're a really solid team. I think they were in the semis or finals last year over there.
Yeah, and they got a stud quarterback. Luke Delafield comes from strong pedigree. So that was a good win for Center. It really was.
Center shows me something. Van, another solid win. They've got a couple of wins this year over some quality teams. Gilmer, now they've just played a brutal schedule, and they've got a win over Kilgore. Pleasant Grove is playing solid. I mean, this is a pretty solid top 10. Now I include Sulphur Springs in there that they, I think they're my 10 right now, and we'll see how they continue to do here. I know, Corey, you follow 4A more now. What do you think about the way these shook out? Where would you have kind of thrown some of these teams in? Do you like this 10?
I think Sulphur Springs should have been in there. Paris needs to get a little more love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything's wrong with that. I think Gilmer's probably going to shoot up in the next couple of weeks. But I think it's pretty fair. Athens is also 2-1. So Athens may be receiving some votes. No disrespect to Athens, but,
Well, then they've got some chances. They've got some quality chances in their district. If they can go in there and they can beat Center, that would be a quality win for them. They also have Carthage in their district. They've got some chances to show what they've got against some teams in this top, because there's going to be some shakeup, because Chapel Hill, Kilgore, Pine Tree, and Lindell are about to start beating each other up here over the next few weeks. So it'll get interesting here pretty quickly. All right. Let's go over here to the 3A, 2A, and TAPS poll as Kyle's entering his votes in. I'll start with just what I went with before he gives his. I have Malakoff still at 1. They squeaked by with a win over Madisonville by 1 point. That's where my brother lives, and his kids go to Madisonville. And he was tuned into that game. Another crazy ending, another 1 point win. Madisonville was ranked in Dave Campbell's top 10 in 4A Division II. I think they were like 8 as of last week. So it's a good quality win for Malakoff. I think it shows that both teams are going to be really competitive this year. I bumped Westwood. I'm going to start working on this for the Westwood fans. Westwood is now number 2 in my poll. And then I have New Diana 3. I have Timpson at 4, Beckville 5, Jefferson 6, Shelbyville 7, Tatum 8, White Oak 9, and Winsboro 10. That's how I have my 3A and below poll. Let's see. What you got?
Yeah, I'm real similar. I got Malakoff 1. I bumped Westwood up to 2. I got New Diana at 3. I got Timpson at 4, and then I've got Jefferson above Beckville. I think you could go either direction there. And then I've got Tatum, and then I have Winsboro up there. And I still have Atlanta. I'm still buying this Atlanta team. I think they're going to be pretty solid. And then I've got Garrison as my number 10. But you're right, White Oak deserves love. They haven't played just super steep competition, so we'll see. But I think once you get to that 7, 8, 9 spot in this poll, it gets a little hard. But yeah.
Okay, Kyle, what do you got in yours? And then we'll release our actual tallied votes.
So I kept Malakoff at number 1. That's no change there. I moved New Diana up to number 2. I know we talked earlier about the competition that they've played. I don't know, but I know that they're winning convincingly in all these games, and they're undefeated. So I moved New Diana up to 2. I got Westwood at 3, and I wanted to put them at 2, but I thought that may just be recency bias by me because I just saw them. But so I put them at 3, but very impressed with Westwood. I got Jefferson at 4. I got Beckville at 5. I got Winsboro at 6. I have Tatum at 7 after their loss to Newton. I threw a vote in there for Gladewater. Now, I know they got a loss, but I threw a vote in there for Gladewater because I think they are more impressive than we thought they would be this year. I got ARP at 9, and then I snuck the Frankston Indians in at number 10.
So did you drop Timpson completely out of your poll, Kyle?
I didn't mean to, but yep.
I was looking.
Hold on.
They lost to the number 2 or number 3 team on the poll, and you dropped them all the way out.
I know. Let me fix this real quick. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
We'll put them. All right. I got Timpson at 5. I got Beckville at 6. I got Winsboro at 7. Tatum at 8. Gladewater at 9. ARP at 10.
Okay. All right. Just checking on
Accidental disrespect is still disrespect.
Man, you might not ever get to be back in the Timpson press box ever again, Kyle.
Jeez, man.
That's
okay, my bad.
Yeah. Accidental disrespect is still disrespect.
Corey, what do you think about those votes so far? Where do you think this is going to fall? I'm about to announce the tabulated results, but what do you think of what we did there?
Isn't Liberty ILO 3A now?
They are. They're 3A Division 1. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not bad, fellas.
They just got disrespected. They got disrespected by Carthage, but that is Carthage.
And same thing with Overton. I'm telling you, this 3A, 2A poll is tough because, it's tough because Overton, they're doing good. Abigail, there's some solid teams that we're leaving out of this poll just because there's not enough space.
All right, here we go. Here's what we got. Final results for this week. Malakoff stays at 1. Palestine Westwood jumps up a couple spots to number 2. I did it again, didn't I? Sorry. It's because I'm reading it off the thing here. It's how they're. That's how they're.
The wood.
That's how they're listed.
That's what the jersey said. The wood.
Oh, it did. Oh, that's cool. I like that. New Diana jumps 2 spots up to number 3. Jefferson comes in at 4. They jump 4 spots from 8 to 4. Timpson drops a couple spots down to 5. Beckville up 1 spot to 6. Tatum drops 5 spots down to 7 after a loss to Newton, which is not a bad loss. Newton is a powerhouse school, so that's how tough this poll is. Winsboro at 8. They jumped up a spot. Last week they were tied with Shelbyville. This week they take the 8 spot. Shelbyville stays at 9, and Garrison now at 10. I like that poll. I think it turned out pretty good there. There's some really good teams, and that's going to lead into our matchups coming up for our pick'ems for this week. There are some really good games, some really good small ball. We're going to have to really – Jaron may have an advantage this week. It's the small ball, I feel like, pick'em games this week. I don't know if y'all have looked at it yet, but it's going to be some really good matchups coming up this week. Let's take a look at our pick'ems here. Let's see what we got. And I haven't done mine. I'm gonna do mine live on the show because I haven't done mine yet.
Me too.
I got a nickname. Whenever you have like a small ball pick'ems, you call them small pick'ems.
Small pick'ems. Okay.
Small pick'ems.
All right. Game 1 is the game that Jaron and I will be at on Friday night between the Carlisle Indians and the Brook Hill God, as Corey would say.
God.
All right. So this one's tough. This is 2 NETSN schools, 2 teams that we cover a lot, and I've got to see both of these teams this year. I think Carlisle is definitely an improving team. I think Coach Sharp's got them on the right track. But, man, Brook Hills, they're a really tough team. They took a really tough loss a couple weeks ago. They had a bye this week. We traveled into the Dallas area in Frisco. We got to see them play, and 2 quarterbacks went down. So they played with their 3rd-string quarterback the second half. Almost were able to make a comeback, just couldn't quite do it. All that being said, I'm going with the Brook Hill Guard. You see that hat? I finally got my hat, fellas, from Coach Hubbard. Shout out to Coach Hubbard. I got me a hat finally.
Took 3 years. All right.
Yeah, I got it. Part of my background of my podcast now. So I'm going with the Guard. Jaron, who you got?
Yeah, so I think these two teams actually match up pretty well with strengths and stuff. But I've got Brook Hill over Carlisle. But I don't think it's going to be a 30-point spread or anything like that. I think it's going to be a little bit closer game, and so I've got Brook Hill.
All right, Cal, who you got?
Yeah, this one's pretty easy for me. I love Coach Sharp, and I think that Carlisle will be good in a couple of years, be really good in a couple of years. But right now, I'm just going to take the Brook Hill God.
Corey?
The Guard.
That's it. All you got for me? The God.
The Guard.
All right. I'll go with Brook Hill. All right. The next one up's interesting. Got 2 3-0 teams. The Shelbyville Dragons roll over and go play Mount Enterprise, they've been whooping everybody, man. Mount Enterprise, so far, they've won 48-13, 42-29. They put up 42 points against that Alba Golden defense, and they beat Maud 44-16. They're playing at home against a Shelbyville team that's beaten Troop, New Boston, and Wascom with the last-second touchdown throw. I know some of you got to see it reaction earlier, but, man, what a way to end the game. A walk-off touchdown from midfield, 50-yard touchdown, I think it was. But this one's tough. This is going to be a really good game. We actually were going to do this game on NETSN, but they wasn't able to get in touch with Mount Enterprise, and so they switched it to a different game, another game that we have on our pick'em. But we cover Shelbyville. I just don't know if they've got enough. I think it's going to be too much. I think Mount Enterprise they're just donkey stomping folks and putting up points. I think they're going to win and take the win over Mount Enterprise. Over Shelbyville. Kyle, who you got?
Yeah, I think they're scoring. They're scoring a lot of points. So I've got Mount Enterprise on this game.
Okay. All right, Jared. Kyle.
I'm not gonna. This is gonna sound weird how I'm doing this, but
okay.
I think the quality of opponent that Shelbyville has beat is better than the quality of opponent that Mount Enterprise has beat. So for that reason, I'm taking Shelbyville.
Okay.
Wolves. St. Augustine is listen, they're fast.
Time out.
I'm out. We're the Dragons.
We ain't talking about St. Augustine. Shelbyville.
I said Shelbyville. I'm sorry. The Dragons. I'm sorry.
The Dragons.
They're both red, right? So that's what threw me off. My bad. My mistake. accidental disrespect is still
Accidental disrespect is
Here
still
comes the
disrespect.
disrespect. Oh wait,
accidental disrespect is still
we're getting
disrespect.
all kinds of chats from the Shelbyville faithful, Corey. They're up
Like
and on.
you can't. What's the difference between a dragon and a wolf? What's a goon to a goblin? I mean, come on. No, but I just listen. I did pick Shelbyville, and I thought I was picking St. Augustine. So accidental disrespect is still disrespect. So Mount Enterprise. I should have picked Mount Enterprise, but I picked Shelbyville. So my mistake.
All right.
Even on my poll up here, I did that. So not
Oh.
poll, but the pick them.
Oh, okay. All right. It's okay. You can pick
Shame.
St. Augustine in the next game if you want to. As they
I
go up
can.
against West Sabine and St. Augustine in this next matchup. St. Augustine coming in the game 1-2, got their first win over Carlisle last week. We talked about that earlier. They played a tough schedule though. St. Augustine has lost to a couple teams in our poll. They lost to Beckville and they lost to Westwood. Those teams aren't bad. And West Sabine they lost to Timpson early in the year. They beat Tenaha. They beat Hemp Hill. Only lost to Timpson by 17. I mean, that's not too bad. So both teams I think are solid. It's the game. The game is in St. Augustine. I'm going to give the advantage to the Wolves, and I'm going to go with the St. Augustine Wolves in this one just because I think that their losses have been against quality opponents, and I think maybe West Sabine hasn't played as strong a schedule, minus the Timpson one. But Tenaha and Hemp Hill, not impressed with them. I'm going with St. Augustine in this one.
Y'all know where I'm going. St. Augustine. St. Augustine.
I'm going to
Yeah,
go.
you gave yours away last game.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still going to go with the 2-1. I'm going with West Sabine.
All right.
Jaron, I might be there with you. Like I'm looking at their schedule, and that's what my concern is. I just saw this Timpson team that had a hard time tackling, and West Sabine was only able to score 22. So that's a little bit of my concern. But then they put up 68 and 60 against Tenaha and Hemp Hill. But again, Tenaha and Hemp Hill aren't great this year. And then you look at St. Augustine. I mean, yeah, they got 2 losses, but I just saw that Westwood team. They're a dang good football team. Like that doesn't. I don't know, man. This one's tough. Heart or head, not heart. Head, not heart. Give me St. Augustine.
All right. That's why this
Heart.
pick 'em week is so interesting. There's a lot of good matchups in this particular week. The next one's another interesting one. You've got Hooks and Winsboro going at it, guys. Man, this one's tough for me right here. You got Winsboro coming in at 2-1. Hooks has only played 2 games. They're at 1-1. Man, this one's hard. Kyle, I'll let you go first here because I'm still thinking about this one.
Well, I wish you wouldn't let me go first because I'm still thinking too. But let me.
Who wants to go? Corey wants to go. Corey wants to
I
go.
picked Winsboro. I picked Winsboro.
You want Winnie? You going with Winnie, huh? Okay.
I'm picking Winsboro.
All right, Jaron, you know who you got?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that win over Honey Grove was a pretty quality win. I know Honey Grove's a smaller school, but they're a good school, and so I know they had the loss early in the season to Tatum, but Tatum's looking better than kind of what I thought they would, as the season's progressed. So I've got Winsboro.
I made my decision, Brett. I'm going with the Red Raiders. Multiple reasons. Well, nope, I said I'm not holding grudges. Never mind. Just give me the Winsboro Red Raiders.
Well, here's the deal. I'm looking at Hooks and Harmony week 1. We don't think Harmony is very good, so I'm not sure how good a win that is. They lost to a good Atlanta team. And then you got Winsboro, like I said, that lost to Tatum, which Tatum's been pretty solid this year. Redwater, I saw them play against Brook Hill in week 1. They've got a couple of guys, but they weren't impressive to me. But the Honey Grove win is impressive. I think that is. And for that reason, I think I'm going to go with Winsboro in this one. Next one on the schedule is Pleasant Grove and Kilgore. This is another really good matchup here. Man, just so many good games this week. Kilgore is going to be a little irritated after last week's game, and I think they're going to take it out on Pleasant Grove. I'm sorry, Pleasant Grove, and you fans in the Texarkana area, but you got Kilgore on the wrong week. I'm taking Kilgore, and I don't know that it may be ugly.
Really?
Yeah.
You okay?
I think Kilgore is going to be
mean-
angry. I think they're going to be a little ticked off after last week.
I get that, but it's Pleasant Grove. Like, it's not like they're playing a scrub where they're going to take their. I'll put it this way. I don't
think it's going to be like a 40
think-
point win, but I think it's going to be a convincing win for Kilgore, maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Okay. Well, I think it's going to be closer than Liberty Ilo kept it with Carthage. I think it'll be closer than that.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah,
it's going to be a 58-20 game.
No, that's not.
So that's what I heard when you said that. That's
No,
why
I
I
didn't
was
say
like,
blowout. I just said convincing. Like, it's not going to be a close. Like, it's not going to be a one score. These one score games. I'm thinking 2 or 3
direct
touchdowns.
disrespect is still
disrespect. I don't know, man. I didn't know until I was looking just now. I didn't know Paris beat Pleasant Grove in week 2 in a 7-0 game. I had no idea about that. That's impressive by Paris. But Kilgore, knocked off Carthage, a good win over a good White House team. I think they probably should have won that Gilmer game. I mean, but yes, to your point, they're going to be very angry, very ready to play this week, and I am not picking against Kilgore.
So, Coach Fuller is going back to his own stomping ground. He was a defensive coordinator at Pleasant Grove, and no wonder this game is on the schedule. First time they played each other. Since he's been the head coach at Kilgore. But I am picking Kilgore. I think he has a better team this year. I don't think it's going to be an old SEC. Remember when Alabama played? I think LSU maybe like 10 years ago. It was like 12-9 in the championship game, one of the worst championship games ever. But that's kind of how this game is going to be. Like, Pleasant Grove is still going to play defense. And Kilgore's not going to give Pleasant Grove anything either. I don't think Pleasant Grove is as good as they were the past few years. So they're kind of in a rebuilding mode. But they can still play defense nonetheless. And they still got Lance Jackson, which is going to Texas. So, man, I'm going with Kilgore. I think Kilgore's got the number this year, and I think it's going to be a pretty good football game. I don't expect for them to score more. Whoever first team scores, first team to 20 wins.
Oh,
I don't think it gets to 20 though. I think it's going to be I remember that LSU game Alabama game you're talking about, and I think you're right on that. And I grew up in Paris. I'm a Paris boy, and now I'm a North Lamar grad, but I know Paris well, and I think that win for them is good. And like you said earlier with our poll, I think they need some love in the poll. But that 7-0 win loss for Pleasant Grove to Paris is what keeps sticking in my mind. So I've got Kilgore. I think that's who I'm running with.
all right.
I want to say I think it's a one possession game. I think it's a one possession game.
Okay. All right. Next game up, Garrison, Lovelady. Another interesting matchup here. 2 teams that are 2-1. I look at these teams and I see a Garrison team, and I thought coming into this year, I thought they were going to be a lot better than I haven't seen a lot from this year. They've got a 1-point win over Wascom. Okay, they got a 1-point win over ARP in overtime. And they lost to Anahuac, which I know Anahuac is a really good team. That's not a bad loss by any means. But to me, what stands out to me is that with the offense they have, with the dynamic backs that they have, with the Yarbrough brothers, they've got 21, 27, and 14 points. That bothers me a little bit. They haven't been able to put up points. And you got Lovelady on the other hand, which put up 48 points against Timpson, which that was the tackling thing, Kyle. But it's still Timpson they put up 48 points against, and then 42 in the first week against Elkhart, and then Groveton they beat them 59-0. Lovelady putting up points. can Garrison stay with them if they allow that? Maybe I'm going with Lovelady here for the win over Garrison, guys. It's also a home game for Lovelady as well.
Well, Timpson and Garrison are about 10 miles apart. It's almost like a Lindell Van thing. But so while I was up there in the press box, I was asking them about Garrison. And they said the same thing, that they think Garrison's a little down this year, just from what they've seen and people that they've talked to. But they still have the veteran leadership where they can pull out these close wins. And I think that's what helps them. You mentioned the Yarboroughs. They've been there a while, and now this is their team, and they have that veteran leadership where they can pull out close wins. I just don't think they have the firepower. They haven't showed it. To your point, Brett, like they haven't been scoring like we saw them score last year. Well, even last year too, they didn't, wasn't in shootouts every week. I think this is kind of their game, but I don't think their defense is as strong as it was last year, which could be could hurt them a little bit. Lovelady, obviously, we know they can put up points. I'm going to take the Lions in this one.
Yeah, not much to say, but just repeat what you guys said. I've got Lovelady on this one.
I beat Garrison. I always go for the Bulldogs, baby.
I love it, Corey. I love it. All right. Game 7. Another matchup of 2-1 teams. ARP and Sabine. This is an interesting one to me. Now, if it was before the quarterback injury from last week, I probably would have gone with Sabine. But you lose a guy like that with that prolific arm. Sparks he's obviously he's committed to go to the Tech. That's going to be tough to replace in 1 week. It doesn't matter who you are, unless you're Texas and you have Arch Manning on the bench. There's not many places
that
that have
40 time or the 70 time.
I don't know. It was pretty fast. He was outrunning some guys in the secretary.
I didn't know who that was. I was like, I thought that was Michael Johnson.
I was like, wait a second.
Carl Lewis?
He's related to Peyton and Eli because those guys can't run with anything.
Right.
I don't know. He got the good genetics there with the speed.
These people moving like the road runner, just going. I'm like, what is he doing?
Here's the deal. Coach Smekey and the ARP Tigers have played well this year. The only loss is to that Garrison team that we just talked about in overtime. They went for 2 and didn't get it. So that's the only loss they've had. They beat Mineola last week and Harleton in week 1. I think they go to Sabine and get the win. I think it's going to be a tough week for the Sabine team. They may come out. I could see it go either way. They come out inspired and they just play out of their mind, or they come out and it's just like their mind's in another place and it just can't get over that hump. I think ARP's going to be too much for them, and I think ARP's going to get the win.
Control your bias, man. Control your bias.
My bias. Who are you picking then?
You going for ARP, man.
I didn't go to ARP.
No, I know you got love for ARP.
You just picked the team. You just picked the team because their mascot was the Bulldogs. Because you picked the Bulldogs. What are you about?
Absolutely.
Come on,
that's biased to Bulldogs.
Absolutely. And I got two. I got to pick between a blue Bulldog and a red Bulldog here in a minute. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
You got to pick both teams.
It's like, hey, a skull above any other. What did I say?
All right. Well, then, which team you got then, Corey?
I'm going with the Maroon Tigers.
Oh, okay.
The Cardinals.
You're picking the same team.
He's biased.
Listen. There's some bias here. You got Smink Dog doing his thing at ARP. So I'm not picking the buzz Smink Dog. He's doing his thing at ARP. So let's go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Pot call kettle, Corey. Please.
I didn't give this long soliloquy about they're doing the thing. I'm just saying ARP over Sabine, Maroon Tigers over the Red Cardinals.
I'm sorry. Excuse me for giving my analysis of how I think the game's going to go. Excuse me. Maybe next time.
Okay, kids.
Coin.
Okay, kids.
Listen. Coin and say that's who I'm going with. Is that better for you, Corey?
Listen.
I want to see that. It's going to have either side, but I want to see it.
Hey, Jaron, I'm going to take the ARP Tigers in this one. As they have their conversation, I'm gonna take ARP in this one as well. But I will say, because I think ARP's the better team. Their one loss was a 1-point loss to Garrison, who is a pretty good football team too. But I'm taking ARP. But I will say, if Colt doesn't play Friday, whether or not if he plays, I think this is it kind of magnified more. But even if he doesn't play, there's extra motivation for that Sabine team to want to play for Colt. So I think that's something you got to worry about too, with them coming out playing for something more than themselves, playing for something more than even
Where
the
did you
name
hear
on the
that?
jersey. Like,
Where did you hear that before, Kyle? I think I said that earlier.
Extra
Well,
motivation.
Wasn't listening to me, was he? He wasn't listening.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm taking
anyway.
Art, but I do think Sabine. If this is a game that Sabine can kind of pull the upset, if you will, I think this is one that they could. Arp's going to need to come out hot, ready to play. Unlike what you said earlier, because I was listening, sometimes it looks like they're not there. They need to come out and be in tune from the jump, or because I think if Sabine, it's one of those games where if Sabine gets their chili hot, it's going to be a long night. But if Art comes out there and kind of puts it to them early, I think Art pulls away with it.
Okay, I
have
like
to
that
use that.
analysis. That's a very good analysis, Kyle.
If they
Thank
come
you
out
for-
with the butter on their popcorn, it's gonna be a long night.
I just think from a I just think from the X's and O's perspective, it's hard to replace Colt Sparks. And more than likely, again, we don't know, hadn't heard anything official or anything, but if he doesn't play, which is my kind of, I'm presuming, it's just hard. He's such a dynamic player. And so I just think it's hard to replace him. So I've got Art.
Okay. The next one, a battle of 3-0 teams, the Hawkins Hawks and the Elysian Fields Yellow Jackets. Man, I look at this one and I look at common opponents. Hawkins beat Mod week 1, 74-16. Elysian Fields beat them in week 2, 56-24. As simple as that. I think Hawkins is putting up ridiculous points. I think they're going to do it again and beat Elysian Fields. So far, they've accumulated, let's see, 74, 52, and 50 in the first 3 weeks of the season, only giving up 36. So not sure what that is. I think it's an average of somewhere around 58-ish, somewhere to what, 12. So that's a pretty big margin. I'm going to go with Hawkins. I think they're playing well this year, and they've got a chance to compete in that district that they're in. I think this will be a good start for them as they start district play with a.
Okay. Here's the thing. Hawkins has a sophomore quarterback too that threw for a school record in week 1 against Mod when they scored that 74. What concerns me is they gave up 20 to Winona. Winona is not good. They are not good. Now, granted, could have been backups playing in the third or fourth quarter. It could have been garbage time touchdowns. I don't know. That's my only concern. Elysian Fields really hadn't played anybody either. They beat Tenaha and Mott. We thought Tenaha was going to be a really good team this year, and they've been struggling, and both of them beat Mod. But then the Queen City one is what's interesting because I think Queen City's a pretty good football team, and for Elysian Fields to beat them by 3, that's impressive. So I think this one's going to be close. I think it's going to be the closest game that Hawkins has had so far this season. But I'm still going to take the Hawkins Hawks to win this one.
Their closest win is 30, Kyle.
So maybe 29. No,
That's a great statement. I love it.
So I struggled with this one, and this is one of the games I suggested put on the pick'em because I'm happy for both of these programs who haven't seen a whole lot of success recently, and I really like Coach Crow at Elysian Fields. I know him personally, and he's had a tough go his first few seasons at the helm there at Elysian Fields. Just various things have taken place, and so I'm really happy for him. I think that drop down to 2A is really benefiting them, the Jackets, and they've probably played a little better competition than Hawkins has so far. But Queen City, I don't know. I mean, there's been some coach controversy there the past couple of years. I mean, they're a decent team, but looking at what Hawkins has put up numbers wise lately, I mean, I'm having a hard time going against that. So as much as I like Coach Crow and the Jackets and what they're doing, I've got Hawkins on this one.
I'm going with Hooks.
Hooks? You're going
I'm
with
just
Hooks?
playing. I know somebody was gonna say something. I knew somebody was gonna say something.
Hook.
Hooks. No, I'm
Whoa.
going with Hawkins. I'm going with Hawkins.
Whoa.
I'm going with
Okay,
Hawkins.
Corey. Just
I'm
one
going
of
with
those
Hawkins.
H teams, right?
I was making sure everybody was on the same page. Like, who's with Hooks? I'm going with
Corey,
Hawkins.
I don't even have to ask Corey who he's going to pick in the next game. Does anybody have any idea who's going to pick in the next game? I have no idea.
I'm wondering.
Corey, I'm going to let you go first in this next one. We got Lufkin and Tyler High. Who do you got?
I'm going Cujo all the way, baby. It's Cujo, baby.
Okay. I'm just checking. Make sure you hadn't changed your pick strategy this year.
That was a good win they had this past week. They've got that two wins in a row. They got smashed by Marshall. We know Marshall's pretty good. They've beat Tyler pretty bad in the past couple of weeks. So we already said Marshall was good. So Marshall's a good football team. So take nothing away from them. But
Hey,
Tyler High's had 2 good wins.
Marshall's
So what?
undefeated against Tyler ISD.
Right. So this is a game where if you're Tyler High, you definitely want to get this game and steal it. Don't Lufkin's playing well. They haven't quite gotten over those humps of, they're playing better than they did last year. But this is a 50-50 game. And this is a game that you want to win if you're Tyler High. So don't play around, go in there and take care of business. And I think Tyler High's will come out with a win.
Okay. Well, man, I think Lufkin is much improved this year. I think they have a quality loss if you can have one against Longview in that week 1, only losing by 4, and then they beat their rival by 56 points, which I think I said it was going to be a blowout. I'm pretty sure I did say that game was going to be a blowout against Nacogdoches. I don't know. I feel like that was said. Anyway, then they go in they have Little Rock Southwest, and I'm not sure anything. I don't know anything about that program, but they had another big quality win as far as points wise. They won by 45 points. I just think they're a little farther along than Tyler High right now. So I'm going with the Panthers. Back the pack, baby.
Indirect disrespect is still disrespect.
Well, listen, I'm with you, Brett. I think, Lufkin, a 4-point loss. All those week 1 games that had weather involved, I think are not great indicators because, yes, both teams had to play with the weather. But if that game's played in normal conditions, is it still a 7-3 football game? I don't think so. But I think Lufkin has had, a good win over Nacogdoches that somebody called would be a blowout. And somebody else picked that Nac may upset Lufkin, and that definitely didn't happen. So, then a win over.
You had Nacogdoches in your poll. Remember, we had this and you went with.
Why are we bringing up old stuff? We're not talking about Nacogdoches. We're talking about Lufkin. Listen, Lufkin traveling to Rose Stadium though this week. My reasoning for picking, I'm going to pick Lufkin, and the reason I'm taking Lufkin is because Tyler High's. I understand it was a rivalry game, but a 5-point win over Legacy that I don't think is very good concerns me. Now I get it was a rivalry game, I understand, but that loss to Marshall and then a close win over Legacy. I know nothing about Seagoville, so I don't know if they're good or bad. But this is the last non-district game for both these teams before they start tough district slates. So you're going to want to get that momentum going into district play. I'm going to take the pack.
Yeah, I think you let Tyler. If you're Tyler, you let Marshall score. Marshall's good, but they scored 41 points on you. You let Legacy score 38 points on you. Lufkin the last 2 weeks have scored 56 and 57 points, and I think I don't think it's going to score that high, but I've got Lufkin.
All right. Game 10, the Battle of the Dogs. Carthage rolls into town and will take on the Chapel Hill Bulldogs. It'll be a homecoming for the Bulldogs. Not sure why they scheduled homecoming against Carthage, but, there wasn't many game choices on the schedule that would have been real good ones for that as Chapel Hill's gauntlet of a schedule continues. Okay. I'm taking Chapel Hill, but there's some caveats that have to happen for them to beat Carthage. They're going to have to not shoot themselves in the foot like they did last week that I saw. We don't know the status of Demetrius Brisbane, so if he's not able to play, they're going to have to rely a lot on Ricky Stewart in that run game, and try to keep Malik G, and his passes to a minimum. Not that he can't make the throws, but you put a sophomore quarterback in there against a team like Carthage. That's a tough place to be, and so I think all that will happen. And of course, it is at home in Chapel Hill, so I think that's also an advantage. In front of the new scoreboard and all the fancy features.
Will the lights turn off at 10:30, or did they get that fixed?
I think they'll be singing, "Baby, when the lights go
As long as the game is over 10:29, we all right, baby.
So, needless to say, I think Chapel Hill should get the win. I think it's going to be a battle, though. I think it's going to be a classic. Another one of those games that we've seen over the last few weeks that just could go either way at the end. And it's a hopeful pick for my Bulldogs to get the win. But I think they should, as long as they take care of business. I think they'll beat Carthage.
This is the toughest game to pick for me. If this was the point spread, it's just a pick 'em. It's a toss up. Like I think either one of these teams wins Friday night. But yep, that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, this is a matchup we've been wanting to see for the past 3 years. These two teams, we've been clamoring for it. We've been wanting to see it. We're finally getting it Friday night. I don't know the status of Brisbane. And that kind of changes things for me. I think if Brisbane was playing, I may lean towards Chapel Hill. The uncertainty of him being there and how healthy is he, even if he does play, how healthy is he actually going to be, and will he be limited for anything? That uncertainty, and especially if G has to start and it's a sophomore quarterback, Coach Surratt's going to dial up that defense to give him looks that he probably hasn't seen before. I'm going with Carthage, but I'm going with Carthage. I'm going with Carthage because I'm uncertain about Brisbane. If Brisbane was a certainty, I think I'd pick Chapel Hill, but I'm just going to go with the Carthage Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm going with Carthage, and I think the player that's going to make the difference is KJ Edwards for Carthage. That dude is solid, and I think he's a playmaker, and I think he's going to be the difference. I think it's going to be a dogfight, slugfest, nasty, dirty. Will fly, chin straps will fly. Both teams have a little bit of chips on their shoulders for different reasons. And so I think it's going to be one of those just East Texas, bEast Texas, just brawls. But I'm picking Carthage.
Well, and Brett, to something you said earlier, since you were at that Chapel Hill game and what Jaron just said about KJ Edwards, he's pretty good between the tackles running. So, yeah. Coach McFarland, if that was an issue last week and it's been an issue this year, that's going to need to be shored up this week, or KJ is going to have a big game.
Yeah, definitely. Corey?
First of all, Brisbane ain't playing. He's not playing.
Put it on the ticker.
And even if he's healthy, he's still not playing. I'm not wasting my year. I'm not forfeiting my year for one game. You know what I'm saying? Because I need him healthy for Kilgore. I need him healthy for. If it takes 2 weeks to heal, you heal him for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, this game's not that important. I can lose this game and we still go to the playoffs. You know, that's just me. But to me, though, this is one of those. This is a game for Coach Ritter, because this is that cultivating game that says, you know what, we got a 9-time state championship football team, and they're right in front of our face. I'm coaching my guys up hard right now this week. Like, everything, we got to tighten up everything this week. Even if we're playing with a sophomore quarterback, junior quarterback, hey, I'm calling a game plan. I love adversity. I'm telling my guys, don't think about who's playing. Hey, I love adversity. Let's go get it. Nobody's going to hand it to you. This is a test. This is a test for Chapel Hill to win this football game. The insurmountable thing, nobody's going to pick Chapel Hill to win this game. They're not picking them. It's Carthage. Everybody picks Carthage, right? Even Brett and I were thinking, man, we're playing Carthage. I don't know, but of course I'm not going to go against my school. That's disrespectful. But at the same time, you're looking at it and you're telling your guys, if you Coach Reardon, you Coach McFarland, and the coaching staff, Carthage they put on their pads just like you. I don't care about the 9 state championships. I don't care about that. This is more of who we are versus Carthage. Who are we? What football team are we going to be? Are we going to be the hammer or the nail? That's the mindset you got to come in this week. Now, I will say Coach Reardon's put his team in a great position to play big games, big rivalry game in front of big crowds. I thought that was one of the things that kind of held Chapel Hill back last year in the state championship game, was that I think they got shell shocked. Playing in front of 20,000 people and playing in front of 5,000 people. And everything's on the line. Everything means everything. Every pass catch means everything. So now you're playing for meaningful games. Last year, this is Nacogdoches. This was Van. Now it's a 9-time defending state champion. The week before is a rival you hadn't played in a week. You played against Gilmer, which has won 4 state titles. Jasper's really good. We're not playing against rinky-dink teams anymore. We're not playing against gimmies. You got to come ready to play, because this is the schedule that we're giving you. And then when you go right in the district, Pine Tree's waiting to slap you in the face. Lindale's waiting to just put you over the lap. Kilgore is definitely waiting for you. Ain't nobody giving you anything. If we're who we say we are, these are the games that we have to win. And it just so happens the disrespect to schedule Carthage on homecoming. I love it.
It's homecoming?
More.
Homecoming, yeah.
It's homecoming.
Oh, I'm picking Carthage.
So that's why I said Coach Reardon's a genius. I love the motivational tactic. I love it. They're not going to come in my house, and they're not going to come in and beat you on homecoming, because that's exactly what they're saying. The disrespect for Chapel Hill to come in and schedule us one, it's going to be a dog fight.
Because there's going to be
what? They going to turn the lights out or what?
It's going to be standing room only. There won't be any homecoming.
It's standing room only.
It's
bad enough.
We've got construction. We got construction all over the campus. Half the parking lots is fenced off. People are going to be parking down.
What a mess! It's going to be a mess.
It is going to be a madhouse.
And you know what? You know what they always say? There's always opportunity in mess. I think
we almost made this our red zone game of the week, but
Kyle.
Oh, can y'all hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, hear me? My AirPod died. But we almost had this as our game of the week, but I didn't know it was homecoming, but I knew, 1, the parking situation was going to be absolutely terrible. 2, Brandon done told me they don't got room in the press box for me, so I was already thinking about sitting up on top. So we did not make this our game of the week. And now that I know it's homecoming, excellent choice.
So Kyle,
you wouldn't.
And kind of leading into it, since we're done with our picks, where is the red zone game of the week?
We're going to be at the Rose, baby, for Lufkin and Tyler. Battle of 2 old school rivals. They're getting back together. So Lufkin at Tyler at the Rose on Friday is the game of the week.
Okay. And then me and Jaron are going to be together this week. We've got Brook Hill and Carlisle, 7 p.m. Friday night in Harrington Stadium in Bullard. Corey, are we going to see a pop-up of you this week? What are you going to be doing this week?
I might. I don't know. It depends if Vince is going to be busy, if JD's going to be busy. We might pop in and do something, do a little That's So Dope Friday night lights.
I know where Vince will be, because he was supposed to be with me and Jaron. He will be at the Tyler High game watching his little girl perform. So he will be actually at that game this week.
So I'll see Vince.
He's at the alumni.
Yeah, so you might run into Vince at Friday night, Kyle, because that's where he'll be. But yeah, got to tune in a little bit to the watch along with That's So Dope this past Friday night. Loved it. So anytime you guys want to pop up, we'll make sure we put that thing out while you're on and try to get some folks that want to just tune in and listen to you guys. It was change
the name to the gray beard crew.
the Great Beard Crew.
Hey, but seriously, y'all need to do it for this game. Y'all need to do it for this game. It's gonna be y'all need to do it.
We might pull it out. See what's happening with the guys. See if JD's available. Maybe me and JD can come out there and talk a little football. I was trying to think about picking another game and possibly doing that. I don't want to just suck the whole thing about with Chapel Hill Drive. Possibly do another game that's
the
online.
Thing is, Corey, you can just sit and you can put up a few games on. You can just kind of keep up with a bunch of them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot more difficult than you think it is. And then you got to go in. The little ticker thing was hard. I was trying to type the little ticker thing and didn't get a lot of space. But it was, like I said, we kind of cracked some eggs. It was working, but it was fun nonetheless. Kind of talk a little sports.
Well, if you're looking for
stuff.
If you're looking for NETSN games this week, we do have a few on the network. We will have the Carlisle Brook Hill game. We also have the Center Rough Riders. Will be taking on who are they taking on this week? Can't remember who they. Can't get my screen to pop up there. It's not loading right. I think who they're playing. Who are they playing this week? Maybe y'all can find it before I do. I know I have it on this nice little handy app. Let's see. They play Dangerfield this week. So Dangerfield, tough one for them. They may be on another continue their little losing streak as Center's rolling so far this season. That West Sabine, St. Augustine, that game we just picked a few minutes ago. Larry will be there doing that game in St. Augustine. And then Keith will be over in Rusk, where Troop will come to town and play the Rusk Eagles. Those are our 4 games this Friday night on NETSN. So that's our slate for NETSN. Anybody else got anything in closing before we wrap this thing up tonight? It's going to be a good week of football. I think there's some really good games on this pick'em. There's going to be some that surprise us, that really tell the tale of who's for real and who's not. I really think there's a lot of good teams we got to include this week. So really good schedule. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode of bEast from the East. Hopefully everyone's teams do well this weekend. As we close it out, for Jaron Peoples, K.O. Kyle Owens, CM Cord Marshall, I'm Brett Sweeney signing off. We'll catch you next week right here on the bEast from the East show. Good night, everybody.
Get out, Karen. Get out, Karen.
Lean on your brother tonight. Let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And then come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed